All right, the brake tapping to get home is underway, specifically eastbound 440 there between 65 and 24. It's not too bad right now if you're northbound 65 to get up to the South Loop downtown. However, if you're on the South Loop downtown, we do have something going on there on I-40 near Demumbrian. And then we've got I-65 northbound approaching Vietnam Veterans Boulevard. TDOT's reporting a crash there. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right. It's 7 minutes after 3 o'clock. Can we please get some calming music in here? I mean, would you mind if we... Hello, friends, and welcome once again. My name is the Right Reverend Matt Murphy, and I'm pleased to preside over the new Elon Episcopal Unification Church of the Holy Donald. Thank you for your attendance.
Wow.
God bless you for your participation. We are the D.C. chapter of the new Elon Episcopal Unification Church of the Holy Donald. And we're proud that you've decided to come for a calming experience over the next 4 hours. I'm joined by Deacon Weaver and Deacon Weber.
Yes, sir.
Hello, men.
Salutations.
Here at the new Elon Episcopal Unification Church of the Holy Donald D.C. chapter, we do not allow women in roles of authority. Otherwise, we might have one. I don't know. Hey, is everything okay, everybody? I don't even know what that means. I just realized that we didn't have a what do you call a female deacon?
Deaconess?
You call them an Episcopal, right?
I don't know.
I think you know what? I'm just talking out of an orifice that's not my mouth about religion. I don't know. I mean, I think that's the joke is that what do you call a female Catholic priest? An Episcopal? I think that's the joke, but
something like that.
Or yeah. Lutheran. I could be getting the religions wrong. Anyway, hello. I told y'all that it'd be okay, didn't I? Didn't I tell you? I told you. Anyway, is everything still okay? Have we gotten any Twitter warnings on Elon or any Truth Social warnings on Donald Trump this afternoon, Ken Weaver?
Not that I know of, Brother Murphy. It looks like the back and forth has subsided for the time being.
Well, that's all. That's good news. It was not a real issue to begin with, and it remains not a real issue. It's a soap opera, and obviously it was one that drew much attention yesterday throughout the course of the afternoon, and we discussed it for the better part of the day. I mean, well, about half the day. We had some other conversations going on, but we are pleased that you've decided to join us on this Friday edition of the Matt Murphy Show. It is June 6, 2025. I highlight that June 6 because I believe that this is a day in world history that ought to be celebrated as much as we possibly can because it is one of the greatest examples of sacrifice of men, individual men, and sacrifice of mankind collectively for the purpose and cause of freedom and liberty, and we're going to discuss that. There was a time on my radio show years and years ago, before we had the audio available to us, that I would read Ronald Reagan's 1984 Point de Ho speech that he delivered on June 6th of that year. Thankfully, through technology, we now have that speech available to us via the intraweb, and we will share that with you at 5:06 this afternoon. If you have never heard it, please listen. Because it is specifically addressing the sacrifices of those individuals involved in that operation. More broadly, It is talking about the sacrifice of mankind for the cause of freedom and liberty around the globe. And specifically, Reagan addresses the threat of communism and the threat of tyrannical government toward the end of his speech, which is always present and ever present today as we talk about some of the worldwide conflicts that are going on. That's at 5:06. We honor the sacrifice of, what do they call? They call that toxic masculinity, boys.
What's that?
What happened on D-Day? That's what we call that. That was a lot of toxic masculinity that eventually liberated a continent and destroyed a tyrannical dictator that tried to kill half the globe. So
that right there was the greatest generation.
Man, oh man. Can you imagine? I mean, I don't think we can, nor would we want to. Imagine being on that transport.
No, especially if you're the one right up against the door that's going to drop, listening to bullets hit it before it does drop.
Ding, 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 ding.
That first half hour of Saving Private Ryan.
Oh, my goodness.
That is an incredible 30 minutes of film.
And the fact that they were not able to, and I think it was Omaha Beach, correct me on the super text line if I'm wrong, but I think it was Omaha Beach, because the seas were choppier. They thought about calling it off.
Right.
They decided not to because so much had gone into diversionary tactics. And what was crucial to the landing of the transports and getting men on the beach was creating foxholes, right? They had to create areas where they could escape gunfire. Otherwise, they were going to be slaughtered. And the ships off the coast were not able to get close enough to the beachhead to put those foxholes on the beach with bombs. So when those transports opened and those men ran on shore expecting there to be, the plan was there are foxholes. There are, mortar-created holes for you to jump into so you don't get slaughtered on the beach. And guess what? There were no holes. And so they got slaughtered on the beach. And they kept coming and they kept coming and they kept coming. And eventually they liberated a continent as a result. I've told the story in the past, and I'll share it with you now. And Ronald Reagan talks about this far more eloquently than I ever could. But I saw a documentary years ago from the German and British perspective. There was a German, I think it was a BBC documentary. It was a German, an Englishman, a Brit, and an American. And they were giving their perception and their perspective of D-Day. And it breaks me up. I mean, it just wrecked me watching the documentary. But it breaks me up every time I relate it, is that the German said that he was in a sniper's nest with a machine gunner, and it was his job to feed the machine gun, and that the man that was operating the machine gun was crying and begging the Americans to stop.
Goodness.
Because he was having to kill them. I mean, it's just that is man's inhumanity to man, and on the German side of it, and it is truly a sacrifice for something that is greater than individuals or greater than ourselves, and we should never forget it. And just because it's not an even year doesn't mean that we shouldn't remember it on this day. I know last year there was a big ceremony and commemoration because it was the 80th anniversary. This year, obviously, the 81st. So,
2,501 Americans died on D-Day.
My goodness gracious. 2,501 Americans. And, man.
A lot of them due to drowning because, like you said, those transport
they couldn't get to
vessels
shore.
couldn't get to shore.
They couldn't get to shore. I mean, and some of the innovation, I just encourage y'all to do a deep dive on some of this stuff, man. The innovation that they came up with, I mean, the things that they had to think of just to make the operation work, just to make they made equipment up that they would retrofit on tanks and retrofit on other items just to clear the beachheads and it's fascinating. And Pointe de Houx, France is one of the more fascinating aspects of it. And once again, I'll let Reagan talk about that a little bit later on. President Ronald Wilson Reagan. In the meantime, we got Friday coming up at the 4 o'clock hour. We look forward to that every week. A couple of Supreme Court rulings that we want to talk with Jay about. One is a discrimination case. Dare not call it a reverse discrimination case because there is no such thing. And we'll also ask Jay about the Department of Education and whether or not Donald Trump has the authority to shut it down. The Supreme Court will make a decision on that here pretty soon. And, of course, your telephone calls of a legal matter on Friday. Your calls all day long, all afternoon long. Absolutely love them. I love talking with you on the radio. I know that I get testy from time to time. I'm looking at that. I can't remember the last call. Paul was his name? I can't remember his name from last night. It was in the 6 o'clock hour. Ken Weaver was probably already home just sipping on a cold beer when I talked to him.
No, I wasn't.
I'm sorry. It was the only way I knew to bring it up. I heard you earlier today. What happened?
I love you, Mr. Vice President.
What happened?
Well, all right. I knew that Vice President Vance was probably going to start heading back to the airport right around the time I left. So I made sure to check, on my phone, all the areas that are congested.
Right.
Well, it didn't show.
Okay.
I see nothing but blue down Demumbrian to I-40. I turn onto Demumbrian from that roundabout, and I see blue lights down there and a lot of red lights. And I went, oh, no. I get down to the interstate, and a trooper has blocked off I-40. And nobody – see, I wanted to come back up here, to go down Division, but I couldn't because people were blocking that. And the people just kept lining up, just blocking the intersection. Finally, after about 15 minutes, somebody moved. I was able to get up to Division. Well, everybody had the same idea.
Did they? Yeah.
And once I finally broke free, boys. I mean, I was heading down I-24 like Bo and Luke Duke. Got to Tanger.
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden, the time that it was going to take me to get home said 7:45.
Uh-huh.
8 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
8:15.
Uh-huh.
There was a big old crash there in Smyrna, blocking the left 2 lanes. I didn't make it home till about 8:15.
8:15?
Yeah.
You made it home after me?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I
Yikes.
probably should have. I mean, so it wouldn't have mattered. Had the vice president, already gone by or whatever, I was still going to run in, possibly run into that crash down there.
Heck, you might have been involved in it. You never know.
Well, you know
exactly.
what? That's true.
Yeah.
And I think
Sometimes
about
we
that
thank
stuff.
God for unanswered prayers.
Yes,
There you
sir. Yes, sir. I think about stuff like that all the time. But the thing of it is, it wasn't giving me any alternate routes because everything was gummed up because of the vice president.
You can't get there from here.
You would not be able to get there from here, young man.
Well, it could be worse. You could be,
I could still be there.
You could still be there. That's true. Well, that just sucks. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. We appreciate it. And for those of you already popping me on this, it happens every year that I do this. And I've already gotten popped on the YouTube channel. You'll listen to Reagan during the speech, and I understand that people say it's point to hawk and not point to hoe. Reagan says point to hoe, and so I say point to hoe. I bet that it is point to hawk. I'll go any way y'all want me to go on it. It's point with an E, D-U-H-O-C. So I'll go point to hawk. Y'all want me to go point to hawk? I'll go point to hawk. Y'all want me to go point to hoe? Go point to hoe. I'll point to hoe.
Let's look it up, man.
I'll do whatever. I do this every year, and I do this every year. Every year, I look it up. And every year, I promise myself that I will never forget that it is the one thing. And then every year, I forget which one it is.
Well, it is French. I mean,
Well, right. I think point to hawk is the Americanization of the. I don't feel like they would pronounce.
Well, there'd be a
the
lot more phlegm involved if it was the actual.
Baguette. Fresh baguette. Would you like some cheese and baguette? Surrender monkeys, the French. Surrender monkeys is what they are.
Wow.
Y'all know about that Maginot Line? They were brilliant, the French. They built the Maginot. Y'all know about the Maginot Line. They didn't want any of that Adolf Hitler coming into their country. And so they built this defense where they had all these armaments and its tunnels, and there were bunkers, and it was a big wall. And, they had the machine guns there, and they built it up on the border. And when it came time for the Germans to get in on that Maginot Line, they drove right up to it, and then they took a right, and they drove right around it, and they drove right on the other side of it, and they drove right into Paris.
Boy, that worked.
And the French, I see it coming. Who knew?
Who knew?
That's my French. That's my French impersonation, everybody. Pepe. It's mostly Pepe Le Pew is what I do.
Didn't German tanks were like far superior to anybody else's tanks?
I think that the German arsenal, we had to catch up. Even America had to catch up.
Yeah.
And thankfully we had the opportunity to do so because, we saw what was going on over there, and we're like, well, we
better get ready.
We might want to get ready for all of this. And then, of course, mostly we wanted to stay out of it. And then the Japanese did the world a favor.
Yeah.
I mean,
they did.
Grand scheme of things.
They did.
Grand scheme of things, Japanese did the world a favor. Because while we lost almost 3,000 men at Pearl Harbor, it woke us up. And we were like, well, this is not just overseas anymore. This is right here at home, and it's time that we strap on our big boy pants and go over there and do something about these fellas. And June 6th was a lot about that. Anyway, we'll delve into that quite a bit over the course of the afternoon. 22 after the hour. We'd love to hear from your perspective on all of it. I will call it point to hawk. Y'all want to call it point to hawk? I'll call it point to hawk. Hawk. Yeah. Okay. It's a Friday edition on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Genesis Diamonds has taken financing rates to a new level and a new low, and I'm going to tell you all about it. Because right now, only at Genesis, you pay nothing down, and you get zero, you heard me correctly, zero interest for 5 years on any purchase in their store. Handcrafted Takori ring, GIA certified diamond, only $100 a month. Wedding bands, color bands, fashion necklaces, fashion jewelry, only $40 a month. Pick any item, and you will pay zero down and spread your payments over 5 years, even the sales tax, friends. How about this amazing opportunity? You can get that home run gift that you've always thought about getting the loved one in your life, and you can spread it over 5 years and don't have to worry about the interest. Interest rates are high everywhere else. They don't need to be high at Genesis, and so they're not. They are 0.0 unapproved credit. Father's Day is coming around, and for the dad in your life, if he's wondered about or mentioned or has ever said anything about owning a Rolex, they have luxury pre-owned Rolex watches are also included in this deal. That's right, Green Hills and Cool Springs. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you over the course of the weekend. Get ready for Father's Day or a just because at Genesis Diamonds.
Well, the quote-unquote Maryland man deported to El Salvador is on his way back to the U.S. We'll tell you about that coming up at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know, and I have a call out. Thank you, Ken Weaver. I have a call out to the Attorney General of the state of Tennessee, our own man, Jonathan Skermetti, about what role the AG in Tennessee, what role the Tennessee Highway Patrol or any official within our state had to do with the federal government throwing down some criminal charges against Abrego Garcia, the quote-unquote Maryland man. So we'll get into that coming up in just a couple of minutes. Would love to hear from you. It's a First Amendment Freestyle Friday, friends. That means anything goes, anything goes, anything goes. Fry J in the 4 o'clock hour, nincompoops in the 5 o'clock hour, and other than that, we are an open book. Any conversation that you want to have that we've not had over the course of the week, if you feel like we've missed a story that we need to address, whatever's on your mind, I will act interested. 615-737-9986. 615, because I take calls all week long, anytime you want to call. I don't suspend your call based on my, but on Friday, my promise to you is I'll act interested in your call, even if I'm not.
Thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And y'all are funny people. Larry writes in and says, the last point to hoe I met cost me a lot of money. 1992 said, just call it Hawks Point. Said in Tennessee, it's pronounced Point to Hawk Tua. That's my favorite. Oh, but as I've done every year on June 6th for the last 20 years, I have looked up the official pronunciation, and here we go.
We are looking at how to pronounce the name of this landmark or feature.
But by the way,
Is this real?
This is not a joke. Oh. This is real. Yeah, I know that it sounds like a joke, which makes it all the better, but this is not a joke. This is real.
We are looking at how to pronounce the name of this landmark or feature on the coast of Normandy, famous in history. It is said in French as Pointe du Hoc. Pointe du Hoc. Silent H as always in French. Pointe du Hoc. And yeah, that's it. Now you know.
I listen to that guy all the time.
Why has this dude got guitar in the background?
I don't
know,
know.
but I feel like I want him to be my friend. Don't y'all want him to be? I want it
really close to the microphone.
I would like for this fella to become our brand new member of the New Elon Episcopal Unitarian United Church of the Holy Donald. I would think he would fit in really well.
He could have helped me with that South African president.
We are looking at how to pronounce the name of this landmark or feature on the coast of Normandy, famous.
I mean, why do I feel like while he's talking, women in their cars are taking their tops off?
History. It is said in French as Pointe du Hoc. Pointe du Hoc. Silent H as always in French. Pointe du Hoc. And yeah, that's it. Now.
And then he
that's it.
Yeah, that's it. So, see you. Kind of drops the French there toward the So it's Pointe du Hoc.
Very nice.
Thank you. So there's no H, but there is the K or the C, as it were. Okay, well there you go. And now you know. It is past time for the news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Tracking some severe thunderstorms here in Middle Tennessee. Right now, it looks like parts of Robertson and Sumner County still under the gun until about 3:45. Severe thunderstorm warning there. They are not. Well, actually, Robertson County is part of the tornado watch that is in effect until 8 o'clock tonight. I believe Sumner County might be involved in that as well. Nope, it's just Robertson County. under that tornado watch until 8 o'clock. So we got to watch these severe thunderstorms that pop up really closely. Full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Sources telling ABC News exclusively that Kilmar Abrego Garcia is on his way back to the U.S. to face charges. He is now the subject of a federal grand jury indictment filed in Tennessee, alleging that over a decade he was part of a conspiracy to transport illegal immigrants from Texas to the interior of the country. Abrego Garcia sent to his native El Salvador in March from where he was living in Maryland. He was part of that traffic stop in 2022 when state troopers suspected he was taking part in human trafficking, but he was released by the Biden FBI. Meanwhile, here in Nashville, Freddie O'Connell told his weekly press conference today he's still trying to get the names and charges against hundreds of people deported during last month's Highway Patrol and ICE operation in South Nashville, despite 2 federal investigations over his executive order to track and report all interactions with federal immigration authorities.
We are still focused on trying to get the names and charges of people that have been detained in Nashville, and I think until and unless we can get those simple questions answered, there's going to be a lot of pressure on how we could possibly go forward with technology like that.
Now, GOP state lawmakers, including Speaker of the House Cameron Sexton, calling on O'Connell to rescind the executive order because it puts federal agents in danger. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, got the brake tapping building, especially if you are northbound 65 to get to the South Loop downtown. They're in between the South Loop and 440. Eastbound 440 right now, pretty slow going to get over to 24. 24 is not bad yet. Once you do get over there from 440, there's a little bit of a slowdown. Then looking over here on the South Loop downtown, I'm seeing a crash there right around Mumbrian. And it looks like, a crash there, I-40 right around Mumbrian. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Boy, pardon me. I apologize for interrupting the weather guy telling us bad news. But I will say this, with all of that rain comes grass growth, right? And it is grass growing season. And if you don't know where to go for grass growing season, might I recommend Dickens Turf and Landscape Supply? It's where the pros go. Dickens Turf and Landscape Supply is your local full-service Toro dealer. They've got every brand, every make, every model. I mean, not everyone, but you know what I'm saying. They've got the best. The pros understand the quality that come with the Toro. The pros understand the quality that comes with Dickens Turf and Landscape. The reason that you see professional landscapers and lawn guys at Dickens is because they're the best, too, because those professionals can help you with any questions you might have. If you've got concerns about weeding or seeding, if you've got concerns about rodents and critters, if you've got concerns about even ticks and fleas in the yard, they can help you out at Dickens Turf and Landscape Supply. Whether you're trimming bushes, cutting grass, or just trying to keep weeds and insects out of your lawn and landscape, they've got it all at Dickens Turf and Landscape Supply. When you're looking for quality parts, products, and the best advice, your one-stop shop, Dickens Turf and Landscape Supply. DickensSupply.com. Go where the pros go. Nashville, Bellevue, Murfreesboro, Brentwood, Mower, Hendersonville, Mount Juliet, and Franklin. It's Dickens Turf and Landscape Supply. Friends, I understand that many of you probably don't know a lot about your health insurance because maybe you've gotten health insurance through your employer, or perhaps you've just had the same health insurance for so long that you don't think anything about it. Do you know if you're paying too much? Do you know if you're getting coverage that's appropriate for you and your family? Have circumstances changed and you just don't know what to do about it? If any of these questions are on your mind, I would encourage you to call Shane Ring and Cover Nash. Shane is my go-to source about everything health insurance. He is the local expert, not a call center, and he doesn't sell you a particular product. There's a very important aspect to this that you need to understand, and that is Shane shops the entire healthcare market. You're his customer, not health insurance. So with that in mind, he's going to find the right plan for you. They are the commodity, not the other way around. And sadly, that's the way that it goes with many health insurance agents. Not so at Shane Ring and Cover Nash. Cover Nash wants you to be informed about your health coverage and make sure you're getting maximum benefits for minimum cost. Take control of your money. Take control of your health coverage. Managed by you, not by the government. Give Cover Nash a try. CoverNash.com. That's CoverNash.com. Or for any of your questions, 615-465-0023, 465-0023. Now, if Ken told you all this during the bottom of the hour, I'm sorry because I was busy doing something else. But, hey, guess we're going to have a guest in Nashville.
Oh, yeah?
There's a guest coming into town.
Another one?
Yeah, y'all know who it is? On the heels of J.D. Vance, Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia. It's coming to town.
Well, at least he won't block up traffic.
Well, yeah, don't talk too soon. You never know. Salvadorian national deported under President Donald Trump's administration is now on his way back, if not already back, into the United States of America. He is an accused criminal. I have a call out to the Attorney General's office on this point, and hopefully we'll hear back from them before the day is over. And if not, maybe early next week, because I would expect that there was some coordination between the state of Tennessee and the United States government and the Trump administration. Kilmar Armando Abrega Garcia, 29, is charged in a sealed federal indictment out of Tennessee with conspiracy to unlawfully transport illegal aliens for financial gain and unlawful transportation of illegal aliens. These are charges, I would note, that should have been brought against Kilmar Armando Abrega Garcia when he was stopped in 2022. Y'all remind me, who was president in 2022?
That would have been Joe Biden.
Joe Biden. And so that means Dr. Jill and Hunter were making the decisions back then. And under their leadership, the Biden cabal, they decided that Immigration and Customs Enforcement would not be coordinating with state or local officials with regard to human smuggling. It was the Department of Justice, FBI, and federal authorities. Do not blame the state. The state did what the linkage between the state and the federal government with regard to immigration practices is only as good as the federal government allows it to be, and only as good as the state governments are willing to make it. In this case, it takes two to tango. So you can have a Trump administration that's ready, willing, and able to get the criminal aliens off the streets, and you can have somebody like stupid Mayor of Nashville, Freddie O'Connell, who refuses to allow his local police officers to coordinate with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. So what happens then? Well, the criminal aliens go bye-bye. They go free. They don't have to worry about their lack of paperwork or immigration status. Secondarily, if you have a state ready, willing, and able with regard to illegal immigration, and you do not have a federal government that's willing to receive those individuals, well, then you have what happened in 2022. Abrego Garcia allegedly moved illegal aliens from Texas to interior states in what courts say was an organized operation stretching back years. Children were among those allegedly trafficked. The indictment filed under seal last month includes 2 felony counts. According to Fox News, who obtained Tennessee Highway Patrol body cam footage from the 2022 traffic stop. And hat tip to, by the way, locally, because I like to give credit. We never get credit, but I like to give credit. Hat tip to the Tennessee Star, Michael Patrick Leahy, for working on this story as well, and his group. Body cam footage from a 2022 stop indicated that troopers pulled over Garcia for speeding. Inside of his vehicle were 8 other men. It raised immediate suspicion. One of the troopers said he is hauling these people for money. They found $1,400 in cash. They flagged Garcia with the National Crime Information Center, which returned a gang terrorism alert. ICE was called. So I want you to imagine this. What we have heard about the nature of this stop and the evidence that has been presented is that they stopped Garcia in the state of Tennessee. The Tennessee Highway Patrol investigated it. And he had 8 dudes in the car with him. Nobody had any luggage. Nobody spoke the Anglais. Well, Garcia spoke broken English. Nobody had identification. And the police officers on the scene, I mean, these state troopers, man, they are good at what they do. And they understand that I-40 is a huge smuggling corridor, sadly, but true. Because it comes from areas out west and it gets them to the East Coast as quickly as possible. And then they can go up or down. They can go down to in the Florida Panhandle and whatever. They can go up the eastern seaboard into bluer, more receptive states. In this case, they knew what they were dealing with. Once again, he's hauling these people for money, one trooper said. And they called Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And you know what happened then? Nothing. ICE never showed up. And eventually the Fed said, let him go. Let him go. This development comes after the controversy in March as to whether Abrego Garcia was deported to El Salvador unjustly. According to the Trump administration, Abrego Garcia's deportation stemmed from MS-13 allegations. His lawyers dispute that gang connection, although that was his argument to be allowed to stay here to begin with, that if he went back, the Barrio gang-related group would come after him because of his affiliations. ABC News reports that the U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, has been in direct contact with El Salvador's president to coordinate his return to United States custody. Abrego Garcia was sent to the notorious CCOT mega prison in El Salvador after deportation. And apparently he's going to be making a trip to Nashville, Tennessee to appear before a federal judge here. That is great news, as it is bringing an individual that needs to be brought to justice. And it puts a little bit of a denouement, if you will, on the talking point on the part of the leftist Democrats. Let me see. If you're not going to get a reply, Sally writes, you're not going to get a reply from any government official. Today is Friday, so it's a holiday. Well, that's probably true. Ray writes in and says, y'all are both wrong. Oh, he didn't say that. I'm putting that on the front end. Ken, we're wrong. And Ray might be right. The auto pen was president of the United States in 2022. Might be a good point that you make. Yes, Brian says maybe Freddie O'Connell will throw a parade for him. Maybe. And 1285 says, I didn't hear. Did you have coffee with Mayor Mushmouth? No, Mayor Mushmouth set up the coffee and then canceled on me. Said that he had a change in schedule and that he was too busy. Hopefully, Mayor Freddie and his team will they'll circle back. Democrats are good at circling back. So maybe they'll circle back with me and give me another time. I'll meet with Mayor anytime, anywhere, for any reason. I'll talk to anybody about anything for any reason, including News Channel 5's Phil Williams. Y'all see my Twitter? I did my weekly Twitter update on Phil Williams.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm still blocked. Phil Williams of News Channel 5 remains a coward who cannot handle reasonable disagreement or a differing point of view. I welcome differences of opinion, so he is always welcome on this show, and I love and adore him for the leftist that he is, and he's always welcome. but he has blocked me on his social media platforms for rightly pointing out his errors in his reporting. And Phil can't handle that. He gets his little booty in a pinch when people note that he is wrong about certain things. And for that reason, I am blocked. And I have no other reason to bring that up than to shame Phil Williams for doing so. Y'all go and let him know that I said so, because I can't, because, blocked and all. Steve is, I guess, first up. First call of the day, Steve. Let's make it a good one, buddy.
All right. I'm a former lawyer, practiced for 42 years, and I was thinking about this whole mess with the Maryland man, and I have a theory as to how they'll spring him, which is an order's probably already been written by the last judge he saw before he got run out by ICE, because you remember they said he couldn't be taken out of the country. There's probably an order down in that court that when he gets in U.S. jurisdiction, he will immediately be brought before that judge and that court and not taken to Nashville. That judge will then say, well, we're going to have a hearing very soon, and I'm going to set your bail at $100 or $1,000, which he will quickly make, and he will disappear. That's my 2 cents, my theory when I started thinking about it.
What are you basing this on? Just your experience?
Just my experience and just the way I see the court system as corrupt as it is, and the way judges basically do whatever they want to now.
Mm-hmm.
With what in any case, whether they got jurisdiction or whether they actually got a legitimate basis, I could easily see, since he was a judge before, that judge would try to step in and claim jurisdiction and have him.
Well, there's been none of that, and right now he is heading back to Nashville. He is eventually going to appear before a judge. I'm looking at the district court as United States District Court for the Middle District of Tennessee, Nashville Division, United States of America versus Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia. I'm looking at his indictment that was handed down in May of this year. And
yes.
And I would think so. My understanding, Steve, of how that process works, or how it worked, is that he was apprehended and he was scheduled for deportation, and he lawyered up. And in the course of lawyering up, he did not make an asylum claim. It's a different, and I forget what the terminology is. It wasn't an asylum claim. It was a deferred entry, something or another. What he argued is that if you sent him back to El Salvador, that he would be in immediate danger because of his gang affiliations in the past. And so a judge in that case, and I think that was 2019, agreed and delayed the removal from the country. So I don't know what standing that judge would have at this point. I mean, go ahead.
I'm with you. I don't know what standing he would have either, but since when has standing been?
Well, that's a good
federal
point.
Court in this country in a while. So just keep that in your conspiratorial hat out there. Something I thought of is like, this group, I don't trust them as far as I can throw them, and they've got something up their sleeve if they can.
Like what group? Are you talking about the Department of Justice?
No, not the Department of Justice. I'm talking about the group that, if you remember, it seems like there was a judge who ordered the Trump administration to return him to the United States, even though he was already out of the jurisdiction.
Well, that group, that group was called the United States Supreme Court, and they didn't order. They just declared that because of the error that we needed to expedite his return as best as possible. And now, I mean, and so you probably might be right. You might be right. I mean, I think they're probably going to try to clear this up first, Steve, but then secondarily, he's been returned, and so we may as well have his immigration hearing now too. And I think very quickly it will be determined that El Salvador, his country of origin, is no longer a threat to him as it was in 2019, because the gang-related activity that existed there then no longer exists now. And so he can't claim any sort of asylum or whatnot as a result of that. I appreciate the call very much. I appreciate the expertise from a legal perspective. We'll get some more expertise from a legal perspective coming up in about 9 or 10 minutes. You can get your questions in. Supertalk 99.7 WTN Super Text line 615-737-9986. That's Friday I'm referring to. 52 after the hour on Supertalk. Are you not sleeping well at night? Do you find yourself waking up in fits and starts? Do you believe it's because of your snoring? And by extension, do you think that it's potentially due to your sleep apnea? If that is the case, I strongly encourage you to contact my man, Dr. Brian McLaughlin, and the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. Dr. McLaughlin has now taken over for Dr. Ponce. Dr. Ponce is still there. He will officially retire a little bit later on in the summer. Dr. McLaughlin brings incredible credentials with him. He's a U.S. Army veteran, a dad, a business owner, a beekeeper, and he is a fine dentist and a fine man to help you sleep better with regard to your sleep apnea. I use the FDA-approved oral device. I use it in my sleep, and I sleep better as a result, and you will too. It holds your airway open. You breathe better throughout the course of the night, and as a result, you don't stop breathing, and you don't snore for most men. That's a bonus. Let's get with the program. Let's get with the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. 2 locations, Murfreesboro and Brentwood, and, of course, they're in network for most insurance. Go to TennesseeSleep.com. That's TennesseeSleep.com.
Weather can change in an instant, and you need to be prepared for any outcome. That's why Generator Supercenter of Nashville will help keep your family safe and connected. We make buying a backup generator simple and easy, with financing options available, free in-home estimate, turnkey installations, no worry warranty, and most importantly, the monitoring and service of your fully installed generator. Come see us at our location in Nashville or visit us online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
We've got new details on the so-called Maryland man who is back in the U.S. to face federal criminal charges. Details coming up at 4 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. Oh, my goodness. I'm finishing something up here. I accidentally called over on the YouTubes. You know, they got the YouTube chat going on.
Yeah.
And I accidentally, I may have accidentally called someone a hoe. Oh, hold on. Well, I was trying to say how. And it was HOW. Okay. Then I did the, you know, you do the star.
That'll make it all
star
better.
fixes it all.
Yep.
Star how? Huh? I didn't call anybody a hoe, Amber. Calm down. Amber said there were 750,000 job cuts for the entire year of 2024. There have already been 696,000 job cuts this year from Jan 1 to now. The U.S. is on pace for twice as many job cuts as last year. What's up with that? How many of those are them government jobs? That's what I want to know. I think we're dealing with the government. It's 4 o'clock on Super Talk.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. CMA Fest has suspended all outdoor stages and nighttime performances at the Hard Rock stage for the rest of the day due to the weather. In addition, organizers said the opening of the gates at Nissan Stadium and Ascent Amphitheater will be delayed at least 90 minutes due to incoming storms. Right now, we've got some very heavy rain over Lebanon, Murfreesboro, and that's stretching all the way down to Lewisburg and down into northern Alabama. Just kind of some light to moderate rain right now in downtown Nashville, but we could have more on the way. Good part of Middle Tennessee and southern Kentucky under a tornado watch until 8. Got the full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the man who was deported to his native El Salvador in March despite an immigration judge's order that he not be sent there, is now a criminal defendant in the U.S. He's under federal indictment in Tennessee. ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy reports.
Now back in the U.S., Kilmar Abrego Garcia is under federal indictment. While his family insists he was a sheet metal apprentice, Attorney General Pam Bondi says human trafficking was his full-time job.
He made over 100 trips, the grand jury found, smuggling people throughout our country.
As it publicly pushed back against court orders to return Abrego Garcia, the administration pointed to a Tennessee traffic stop in 2022. Troopers at the time suspected he was smuggling, but he was released and no charges were filed at the time. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
Tennessee Department of Public Safety says he was released because that is what the Biden administration FBI ordered Tennessee authorities to do. Channel 4 says authorities have narrowed the search for that missing pet zebra in Rutherford County. I-24 East in Christiana, where it was seen this morning.
I don't want him to get hurt. He's become a big figure out here.
Hope to catch him. Like I say, it's been a fun thing. It's been a running joke for 6 days. It's been so funny. Other than that, I hope to catch him.
Ed, as the zebra's been nicknamed on social media, is skittish. Not an animal you want to mess with, according to Zoo Nashville officials who say they are dangerous to people. So if you see Ed, keep your distance. Call the sheriff's department. The search is intensifying for a Washington state man accused of suffocating his 3 young daughters. Here's Alex Stone.
The search for Travis Decker is now focused in on the Pacific Crest Trail. Decker, a wilderness survival expert and military veteran, is believed to maybe be traveling the trail. People nearby are being told to keep buildings locked and lights on. Ariana Cozart is the attorney for his ex-wife, who says Decker has mental health issues, and his ex-wife has empathy for him as he's on the run.
He was a very loving man, but something broke.
Decker's ex-wife is pushing for changes to the Amber Alert system since the case did not trigger one because there was no evidence of a kidnapping. Alex Stone, ABC News.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, in Brentwood, looks like TDOT's reporting a crash blocking the left lane, 65 northbound at Concord Road. Over on the northwest loop downtown, got a crash, right shoulder on-ramp blocked, 65 northbound on-ramp from eastbound 40. Police reporting that one. Police also reporting 24 westbound past Bell Road, a crash there. And in Robertson County, Highway Patrol reporting a crash 65 northbound right there at exit 117. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, a lot of things to get to, not the least of which, Fry J, coming up in just a moment on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, around this time, 1 hour from now, we will hear from our 40th president of the United States of America, Ronald Wilson Reagan, as he delivered the Pointe du Hoc speech on June 6th, 1984. It's about 13 minutes long, and I promise you, if you've never heard it or if you haven't heard it in a while, you will absolutely love it. In the meantime, Larry writes in and says, okay, guys, when I first heard this commercial asking if there's a bigger 1-2 punch than Joan Jones and Ken Weaver, I thought, why the heck would I want to punch Joan or Ken? First of all, Joan would slip my tires. Then Ken would grab my beard, wrestle me to the ground shirtless, and stomp on my ass.
He's a listener. He knows.
Fact check. True.
It would be shirtless.
The more I think about this, and I'm not gonna comment too much on it before I get Jay St. Clair in here. But the more I think about this, the more I absolutely love what the Trump administration has done with Mr. Abrego Garcia. It is somewhat of a master stroke. So the Democrats have been demanding, what, Ken, as far as you've been covering this story, it's our understanding. What do the Democrats want for Abrego Garcia? What have they said that they want? 2 words. What do they want? What do they want? First word, due. Second word,
due process.
Due process. That's
Yes,
what
sir.
they want.
Yes, sir.
Well, you want due process? Well, you got it. Here we go. You're going to get your due process on human trafficking. You're going to get your due process on human smuggling, something that, oh, by the way, the Biden administration chose not to deal with in 2022 when he should have been charged with human trafficking. You need to put, by the way, for those of you that are overcomplicating this, the dude was pulled over with 8 individuals in his car, none of which who had identification. All you have to prove are 2 things. You have to prove that he knew they were illegal and he transported them across state lines. And if those 2 things are true, let's go your butt to federal jail. Now, I don't know if he can serve his American sentence at CCOT, but, so be it. It is a master stroke in the sense that the Trump the political left have demanded that the administration acquiesce to bringing him back here. Well, he's coming back here. And so none other than Jonathan Turley noted that it ends the removal litigation and reframes the controversy as a part of a criminal prosecution. The administration is not yielding to orders that it has challenged as judicial overreach as they bring him back into the country. So they're not saying, okay, we'll do this to set up a precedent that they have to do it in the future. They are bringing him back into the country for the purpose of prosecuting him for criminal activity. So as soon as if he is convicted, by the way, according to legal scholars, and I'm about to bring one on who might have thoughts on it, removal after his sentence would be rapid. Let's get into Fry J, everybody. My favorite hour of the week, and I think it's yours as well. We bring on my best buddy, good friend for well over 2 decades now. He's my lawyer. He's my gambling buddy, my life consultant, and he's a good Tennessee man. He's Jay St. Clair, and he joins us for Fry J. Hello, Jay.
Hey, Matt.
Jay, I got a question.
All right.
How's that riprap doing?
Well, it's funny you say that, Matt, because we hadn't had hardly any rain since I put it down. And I want a gully washer to come. I mean a gully washer.
You want to test it out?
I just want to see how good it is. And right now we're actually getting a pretty good rain.
That's good.
So, we'll see. It may be an inch of rain, maybe half an inch.
One of the most insane rainstorms that I can remember being a part of. I was standing in your garage. That was before you sealed that sucker up, too.
No, that's right. I think you were working on that little go-kart motor, and I was trying to drain the swamp.
It got pretty rough pretty quick. But, well, a lot of folks are asking about the riprap, and so I thought we would start there because you were putting down, thousands of pounds?
Half a ton.
Half a ton of rock.
Half a ton. One Bobcat scoop, which I'm told is half a ton.
Mm-hmm. And you got it all in. That's good. That's good.
I sent you a picture of some of the bruising that I had, right? Did I show you?
You did. You said, I don't know where these. You said, and I love you so much, brother. You said, I don't know where these bruises came from. I said, Jay, those bruises came from being 66 and moving 1,000 pounds of rock.
Well, I didn't get in a bar fight. Nothing hit me. But here's the thing, man. I didn't send you the worst ones.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I just sent the one that was easiest to take a picture of.
Wow. Are they getting better? That's the question.
Yeah, now I'm getting a little bit better. It's been hard to play golf this week. But I've struggled through it.
Well,
yeah,
it's tough.
I'll tell you this now. Just to finish the story. So the riprap was stage one, right? And I finished that up last Sunday morning. I guess we talked Friday. I was in the middle of the project. I finished that up Sunday morning. Well, stage two is topsoil. I got to get half a ton of topsoil up there.
Oh.
So the guy that does my yard showed up here Monday morning at 7 o'clock, regular time. At 7:13, we had a deal for him to do the top.
It didn't take long, did it?
And he asked me, what are you willing to pay for it? I said, James, I will give you the house.
I told last week, as your best friend and gambling buddy, I said, Jay, come off your wallet.
Yeah. No, well, I get it, but it's something I wanted to do really just to prove to myself, Matt, to be honest with you. I had the time and I needed the exercise. I've been a little sedentary and I just did it really to prove it to myself.
Yeah.
And once I proved to myself I could do it, there wasn't any reason to prove it twice.
Well, that's the truth.
Because here's the deal: they show up with a 4-wheeler, So the hardest part of it, they didn't even have to do. They just drove through my neighbor's yard, went through the back gate, and they were done in an hour and a half, and charged me $500, including the dirt.
Well, I hope that you were out there the entire time yelling at them. Well, anybody could have done that.
Well, I was here, but I wasn't yelling. No, trust me, I was so happy to see that dirt coming in, man. I didn't say a word.
You were, I bet you were wagging your tail. Have you seen? I didn't hit you up on. Did you see this dog?
No, the rescue dog. Yeah, so sweet.
I bet you were wagging your tail as hard as that rescue dog was wagging his
the whole time.
If you haven't seen it, I put it up as I call it a timeline cleanse every now and again. That's what folks call it. It's a little dog. It looks like a golden retriever mix.
Right.
That got rescued in Australia. He and his sister wandered off their property, and they didn't come home, and so the family started looking for them, and they were found several days later, and it's such a sweet story. It just breaks me up. Dogs are so sweet. Of the two dogs, the girl dog Penny was standing at an opening of a 26-foot deep mine shaft where Ted had fallen in. And she was keeping watch over her brother. And
for 4 days.
For 4 days. She wouldn't leave her brother. And the fire department came out and the fire authority came out. And y'all just go to @Matt Murphy Show on the X machine and look at this, because they rescued this dog, and it is so sweet because it looks like his tail is wagging so hard it looks like he's about to fall off.
And he hadn't eaten for 4 days.
Hadn't had a bite for 4 days, and his sister stood watch for 4 days, making sure he's okay. Yep. That's so sweet. That's so sweet. Yep. Jay, let's talk a little law. You want to?
Yep.
So, U.S. Supreme Court, this is the season, right? Explain for those, in Aniana that don't know, explain the calendar, right? I mean, because the court, if I'm not mistaken, they go into session in October and then they hear our, I mean, what is the basic calendar of the court? And why we seem to always get the decisions this time of year, right?
Yeah, well, let me answer that question, but there's a funny story behind all that. But I think by statute, the Supreme Court term, that's the word we use, begins the first Monday in October.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that's by statute, man. There is no end to the term. So they could be in session year round, just like any other court. Here's where it came from, because I just got to tell the story. Used to, there were 2 terms of court, spring term and fall term, and it had a beginning and an end. And do you know why that was?
2-term beginning and an end. Wintertime? They don't want to be up there.
Spring and fall. It was before air conditioning.
Yeah,
you couldn't hold it. You couldn't hold court during summer.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, so that's why we have this concept of terms. But any other court, you don't even hear that. And so they go in session formally first Monday in October by statute. They could quit anytime they wanted to, or they could go year round. But just kind of by custom, man, they want to take a summer vacation. Nobody in Washington works, around the calendar. And so, they generally wrap up around June, and they'll do little stuff during the summer, but that's not by law. It's just whenever they're done. Yeah, my word, they only take 60 cases a year.
It's not like they're working out there.
No, it's pretty sweet deal.
I mean, they how many cases, just off the top of your head, would you say are pushed up to their court? I mean, in other words,
at least 10,000.
What?
10,000 cases a year, and they only take 60 of them.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I guess when you don't have to, but it's probably a good thing, right? Because at that level, you've taught me over the decades that we've known each other that they're there to look at some big picture issues or bigger picture issues regarding.
That's right. Well, it's really two categories of things, man. One is big constitutional issues, and then the other is statutory interpretation issues or other kinds of cases where there is a split in the circuits. There are, I guess, 12 or 13 circuit court. Those are the first level appellate. You got trial, circuit, Supreme Court. Well, if 2 circuits have decided an issue differently, then the Supreme Court has to resolve that. So that's really the 2 category of cases.
So they're throwing out some decisions of late, and there were 2 that caught my notice that I wanted to ask you about, and I want to do that on the other side. I don't want to rush you on this. One, I don't think a decision's been made yet, but I think unions are asking, if I'm not mistaken, unions want the courts to take up whether or not Donald Trump can essentially dismantle the federal Department of Education.
That's right.
And that one's kind of still pending. The other one that was decided was that the courts determined aspects of a discrimination case involving a woman who says that she was discriminated against because she's straight.
Right.
Which is kind of an interesting twist on it.
Yeah.
But before we got in the minute or so that we have before the break, I think the Trump administration, in some ways, they get themselves into a corner. In a lot of ways, the way they get out of corners is brilliant. So they had this Abrego Garcia guy, and initially they admitted they kind of screwed up. That they should have, given him a hearing, before getting him out of the country. They didn't do that. But, Trump's stubborn, and I think the DOG is going to reflect the president that they serve. And he didn't want to give a win to what he felt like was judicial activism out of Washington, D.C., and so now they're bringing him back, and they're re-racking these charges against him for human trafficking that Joe Biden's administration never leveled against him.
And it's going to be tried in Tennessee.
And it's going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah.
Yep. No, it is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant because it totally flip-flops the PR aspect of this, right? The mainstream media was portraying him as a victim. Well, we'll see what happens when all this evidence comes out of all the human trafficking he's been doing.
Well, and they've been begging for, Ken Weaver and I were talking about it a minute ago. They've been begging for due process. Well, here you go.
About to get,
you got about to get you some of that.
Yeah, it's like my favorite line of that movie. The guy gets arrested, Ken, out in the Old West, little town, and he goes in and he asks the sheriff, says, "Well, Sheriff, what's going to happen?" "Son, we're going to give you a fair trial followed by a first-class hanging."
That's right.
Ken, that's due process right there.
For some reason, when we talk about due process in this respect, it makes me think of getting some of that reform. We're going to get some of that reform, Daddy. Reformed it with the incumbency.
Or like Strother Martin in Cool Hand Luke. Well, he gets it.
He says he wants it.
Well, he gets it.
Well, he gets it. I love it.
Luke, you got your mind right?
Getting my mind right, boss. 22 after the hour, we're going to get our mind right. We'll ask Jay these questions. Your questions coming in on the super text line, 615-737-9986. I've long said that if you believe we live in a civilized society, let the lights go out for a little while. Well, what will you do if the lights go out for a minute? Due to storms that come through, maybe down to trees on power lines. Do you have a home generator from Generac? If not, I encourage you to contact Premier Generators. They are your number one Generac dealer in Middle Tennessee. Really, in all of Tennessee, Premier Generators is ready to serve you. No matter the size of your home, no matter the size of the project, no matter how big you need your home generator to be, they can suffice at Premier Generators. They will make it right, and they will keep the power on when others lose theirs. If you've ever considered owning a home generator, it could not be easier. They have a free consultation, nothing to wait for. They have financing available for you as well, and these are very great rates on the home Generac generators from Premier. Just make a call, and they're not going to try to sell you anything. They're just there to answer your questions about the idea of having a home generator, so you don't have to worry when the ice storm comes. You don't have to worry when the winds come. You don't have to worry when the nasty weather comes and knocks out the power, because you're taken care of thanks to Premier and Generac. Call 615-439-2992, 439-2992, or go to premiergenerators.com.
Well, the so-called Maryland man deported to El Salvador in March is back, facing serious criminal charges. And a woman in Texas has died from something she put up her nose. We'll tell you about it at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy Show, in the midst of Friday. You know, when Jay and I, Ken, I think I can put you in our category now, because when I start thinking about Cool Hand Luke, it's difficult for me to stop talking about the quotes from Cool Hand Luke.
I know. There's too many.
There's one of the most quotable movies in the history of cinema. I mean, in there's a lot. I mean, get mad at them damn eggs and all of it. Yeah. Jay, I never focused on one, and we started up. I don't know how long we've been playing golf together, Jay. You might not remember this, but remember, come on, safety pin?
I know exactly. Come on, safety pin. Lord, whatever I've done, don't strike me blind now.
Looks like a watermelon.
On,
what's about to bust right open?
Looks like a watermelon. Oh, come on. The only thing.
So I use that with my son a lot. Come on, safety pin.
Come on, safety pin.
That was a great scene.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, she knows exactly what she's doing.
Big old George Kennedy.
Oh, dragline.
Yeah.
And he won the Oscar. He won the Oscar.
He did. Best Supporting Actor. And, well, there's a lot of favorites, but, he's doing it for your own good, Luke. Well, wish
you quit being so good to me.
Yeah. Wish you'd quit being so good to me, boss. All right, Jay. So the discrimination case. I mean, it was unanimous, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty easy case, man.
I mean, I guess so. What were the deets on? What were the details?
Well, yeah. So it's what we call reverse discrimination, and here it had to do with sexual orientation, but let's just say it's race or sex. A guy claims he's discriminated against because he's a guy. Or a white person claims they're discriminated against because they're white.
Mm-hmm.
They're majority. The discrimination laws, you might think, not fair to say, were implemented to protect minorities, but it doesn't say that in the law. And so some courts have said, when presented with what we call them reverse discrimination cases, they said, now, wait a minute. This law really wasn't meant for you.
Right.
So in order for you to use this law, you have to make an initial showing that this employer is one of those unusual employers who would discriminate against a majority, somebody that's in a majority, because that's odd. We don't think that happens very often.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to make you have an additional element of proof you have to show. And the Supreme Court said, no, you don't. There's nothing in these laws that says they're only for minorities.
Mm-hmm.
They're for employees. Everybody's treated the same, and it's been that way for years. I mean, that's the law around here. I've never thought there was an issue about it. I've had quite a few of those cases, and they're interesting cases.
So it occurs to me, and I know it's news time, so I want to take this up on the other side, Jay. You and I have talked about this in the past. I think we talked about this when it happened. Remember the Hooters case?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and you, I mean, this is kind of right in your, I mean, every matter of the law is your wheelhouse, in my opinion, but this is really in your wheelhouse, employment discrimination. But
those stuff I make up, but this I really know.
well, I want to talk about it. If y'all forgotten about the Hooters case, there was some fella sued because Hooters was only hiring.
Well, it was the EEOC. The EEOC sued Hooters.
Oh, I forgot.
You can't have just. Oh, no, this is a great case to talk about.
Okay, let's do it in a second. All right, we're going to talk about it in a moment. Get your questions in here already. I've gotten a couple of questions on the Super Text line for our man Jay St. Clair. It's time for news on Super Talk.
.4:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. You might want to check your schedule there at CMA Fest. It looks like the weather has prompted some suspension of some of the shows this afternoon and this evening, especially the outdoor ones. Full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Kilmar Abrego Garcia back in the U.S. to face criminal charges for alleged human trafficking. The man originally from El Salvador was living in Maryland when the Trump administration said he was mistakenly deported to his home country. Well, earlier today, Attorney General Pam Bondi announced more than 2 months after that error, a federal grand jury's indicted Garcia for allegedly transporting undocumented migrants, and he's coming back to stand trial.
A co-conspirator alleged that the defendant solicited nude photographs and videos of a minor. A co-conspirator also alleges the defendant played a role in the murder of a rival gang member's mother.
The 2-count indictment, which was filed under seal in federal court in Tennessee last month, unsealed today. We're learning new details about a teenager stopped in rural Washington state, accused of plotting an attack on a shopping mall.
Under arrest is a teenage boy accused of being on the verge of carrying out a mass attack at a mall in Kelso, Washington. The FBI believes he was ready to execute his plan to use a chlorine bomb to create panic at the mall and then shoot people leaving a movie theater. Sandy Gaskill, visiting that Kelso mall, says it's shocking.
Well, I'm glad that they heard about it and did something about it before anything did happen.
The FBI says 3 guns were seized along with ammunition and knives. The teen allegedly had vowed allegiance to anti-life extremist groups online. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Right now in Texas, a woman is dead from an infection caused by a brain-eating amoeba after she used tap water in a sinus rinse. The CDC says the woman died of primary amoebic meningoencephalitis, a rare but often fatal brain infection. The tap water for the sinus rinse she used came from an RV's water system at a campground. The CDC says you're not supposed to do that. You should use distilled, sterile, or boiled and cooled tap water for anything nasal. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, in Berry Hill, police say there's a crash 65 southbound just past Armory Drive. And in Woodbine, got a crash blocking the left lane 24 eastbound at I-440. Whites Creek, a crash partially blocking the on-ramp 24 eastbound from Old Hickory Boulevard. And then in Antioch, a crash 24 eastbound past Hickory Hollow Parkway. Brentwood, TDOT says a crash is on the right shoulder, 65 northbound at Concord Road. And in Robertson County, Highway Patrol reporting a crash 65 northbound at exit 117. Traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
Grace Point Healthcare is affordable, convenient, and comprehensive medicine delivered, they like to say, the old-fashioned way. A direct pay format provides you the opportunity to know exactly what you're paying for medical care. You know, it happens to be Jay St. Clair was the first man that pointed this out to me years and years ago. He said, you know, Matt, the one thing in my life that I don't really know what I'm paying for is health care. And it's true. You go in, you pay your copay, but you don't really know what it's costing you. Well, at Grace Point, you do. And that's why it is so appealing to me, because you know exactly what you're paying, and it doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg. Matter of fact, their Smart Care plan, $69 a month, and you get unlimited office visits plus free basic labs and diagnostics. It is affordable health care the old-fashioned way. Now, you can obviously apply to your insurance company for reimbursement. Grace Point is a military veteran-owned practice. They treat naturally whenever possible. I love the way they do their business. Call 599-6868, 599-6868. You can get in same day or next day. You really can afford exceptional medicine at your convenience. Modern medicine delivered the old-fashioned way. Super Talk 99.7 WTN in the midst of a great session of Fried J with our man Jay St. Clair. Kevin writes in and says, my daughter Lily really wants to meet you and the gang. Is the King's Bowl event a family-friendly function? It is. I mean, as long as you don't mind your daughter. I mean, it's at a facility that serves beer and wine, spirits and whatnot. But in terms of our presentation and everything we'll be doing, yes, absolutely family-friendly, and would love to see you. It's my understanding Lily is 13 years old and is listening right now with her BFF, Leah. And so we say, hello, Lily. Hello, Leah. My favorite teenage listeners right there listening on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. In the meantime, before we get back to Jay, speaking of favorites, I mean, this is maybe it's in the top 5 all time.
You're going to get used to wearing them chains after a while, Luke. Because they're going to remind you of what I've been saying. For your own good.
Wish you'd stop being so good to me, Captain.
I didn't like that.
Don't you ever talk that way to me. Never! Never! What we've got here is failure to communicate. Some men you just can't reach. So you get what we had here last week, which is the way he wants it. Well, he gets. And I don't like it any more than you, man.
It does not get any better than that.
Well, and the part of that scene, too, that gets him is Luke purses his lips.
Like him.
The boss
Like
does.
boss. Right. I wish you'd stop being so good to me, Captain. Oh, Jay, what about it, man? Oh.
My favorite movie, absolutely my favorite movie. And I realize it's not to a lot of people's taste, and because this is sort of man's inhumanity to man. It's a dark, dark movie. He ends up dying. Right?
Yeah, it is.
The protagonist die, and the religious references throughout it are amazing.
Oh, no, he is. I mean, it is. What I learned in theater, in my theater background, is it is a classic Christ allegory. Is that
absolutely.
He sacrifices himself to save others.
Because, when he's digging that hole out there and then he falls in it and he's hands up with his arms crossed, like Jesus in the Shroud of Turin. And
there's another one too, Jay, and I'm sure you've noticed it, when he gets finished eating the eggs.
And he plops down on the table.
He lays out on the table and his arms lay out.
Right.
I mean, if you've never seen Cool Hand Luke and you're a guy, I've stopped recommending it to women because for some reason women don't care for it. But
they don't like it.
But if you're a guy, you gotta see it. It's so.
The women just don't get the safety pin joke. They don't get it.
They just don't get it.
Come on, safety pin.
That's a perfect segue into our Hooters conversation, Jay. Just give it, because I got a lot of questions I want to get to them, but just what was the EEOC sued Hooters?
Yeah, the EEOC sued Hooters and said they were discriminating against men because they would not hire men as servers. They would hire only women. And they said, you can't do that. And it kind of was reverse discrimination. Well, Hooters didn't back down, right? Because this was their business model. It was central to their business. So they fall back great guns. And then it was two-pronged. The legal argument, which was brilliant, is you don't understand. We're not in the business of selling buffalo wings. We're in the business of selling vicarious sex. And the buffalo wings are just the cover. And in order for our business model to work, we have to have women. It'd be like saying to a strip club, well, you got to hire some men. You're only hiring women. But the other part, they had this great PR campaign. Well, they got this big brawny guy, with hair all over his back.
Bushy mustache. He had a bushy mustache.
Yeah. And then dressed him up as a Hooters girl. And the ad was, this is the government's idea of a Hooters girl.
That's awesome.
And they finally they forced the EEOC to drop the case.
Well, I mean, good for them. Good for them. And now Hooters, apparently they're trying to go family friendly. I don't know if you've heard that or not. Well, good luck with
the business is falling off. When's the last time you've been to Hooters?
That would have been 1992.
Yeah, well, I think it's time for them to change the business model.
Love it. Jay, let's get to a few of these questions. Some of them are more technical than others. One quick question I'll ask you while my others are loading. Somebody wanted to know, did Mr. St. Clair's dog, that would be Olivia, haul any rocks?
Did I tell you about the idea of building some saddlebags
You
for
did.
her?
Yes, you did.
No, I couldn't do it. And I'm glad I didn't, because she's pulled up lame this week. A couple of days. Yeah, she's hopping around on 3 feet. Said if I made her done that and then she pulled up lame, I would feel awful.
5911 just writes in real quick and says, thanks to the Matt Murphy Show and Fry J, I won my lawsuit against the company. And I have no idea what we're talking about, but we're getting credit for it. So that's great.
I think I know exactly who this is. And it's a gentleman that I talked to. He called me. We talk a lot about, hey, you can bring your own lawsuit. And so I talked to him. We had several conversations. And I said, you can handle this. The amount of issue was about $8,000, man.
Mm-hmm.
And he took him to court, and he won.
Oh, that's great.
So it can be done. And, I always joke about $400 in a crayon. I'd say that because $400 is the filing fee in federal court. Well, the filing fee on General Sessions Court is $175.
Oh, wow.
So we may have to change it to the name of our podcast, $175 and a crayon.
One of these days, Jay and I are doing a podcast, and it will be all about legal matters. And I'm just going to be asking questions. Jay's the guy and we're going to call it $175 in a crayon.
And so I'm glad he wrote in. This just shows you can take a company to court and win.
All right.
It can happen.
8365 says, I have a Fry J question. Got a speeding ticket in Murfreesboro, but the address they wrote out on the ticket was not the one in the system or the one on my ID. And he did not even give the home address correct for the old address. Can I get the ticket thrown out for an improperly filled out ticket? I used to live in Vermont, got a speeding ticket thrown out because they did not write the speed limit for the road on the ticket, but I had a lawyer for that one. So the idea is the police officer wrote some incorrect information on the ticket, Jay. Does this person have an opportunity to get this thrown out?
You can try it, but I think your chances are slim. When he's talking about the wrong address, he's talking about his home address, or is he talking about the address where the incident happened?
Home address is what he said.
I don't think that's grounds to put a ticket apart. The other one, when they didn't have the speed of the road, see, that's part of the offense.
Right.
You got to show that, but where your home address is not relevant to whether the offense happened or not. Where it may be relevant is that they may not be able to find you. That's the relevance.
Well, if you want to go on the lam for a speed ticket, there you go.
To do that, you got to go show up at court, and you can fight it yourself. You don't really need a lawyer for that, but you can make that argument. But I don't know about that one.
Boy,
I may be having an expert. Well, I have a lot of resources, man. And Resource Richard, who is an expert, a true expert in criminal law, says no, that is not grounds.
Oh, well, there you go.
Just set it aside.
Law question for Jay. I own a 5th-generation farm in Clarksville. That's awesome. Greenway expansion master plan shows it going right through my private property. They have started clearing land a mile from me, just approved another mile right next to me, and it's headed straight for me. There's no way around me. I don't want it coming through the farm, and I have yet to be contacted by anyone regarding my farm or plans. What can I do?
Well, not a lot, to be honest with you. Because it's the power of eminent domain. There is this odd provision in the law that the government, if they got to show a good cause, good reason for it, but they can force you to sell them your land. Now you have to get a fair price for it, and you go to court to do that. And you can fight them for, even the land. But if the highway's coming your way, you're going to hear from them. And all you can do is just negotiate the best deal with them you can.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah, well, and I wonder if it changes it. I don't know what he means by greenway. I would guess maybe that's a roadway, or maybe that's something different. Help me out at 1816 and let me know what greenway means. But that's eminent domain has popped a lot of people over the years. Right. Can you ask Jay if President Trump can sue Elon for defamation?
Hey, Ken.
Yes, sir.
You listening?
I am.
What does it take to file a lawsuit?
$400 and a crayon.
You're right.
I love you, Ken. Ken, I love you.
Hey, Jay, he got the amount right because it would be filed in federal court. So
yes, sir. No, it's all right. No, it's great. You're brilliant, Ken.
Thank you, Brother Jay. I went out and got me a whole new set of crayons, too, in case my wife makes me mad.
There you go, buddy. There you go. Use the red one. The fella that sued me, remember Charles Allen Head suing me?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What did he sue me?
Made-up court.
He sued me in Alabama District Court.
The District Court of Alabama.
Right. He wrote it.
You were a little worried about it, and you showed it to me, and I said, man, don't worry about it.
I was like, well, what? It's just nothing to it. And Jay said, well.
The court doesn't exist.
The court. I said, oh, okay then. Jay, I had a colonoscopy back in September, paid out of pocket. I paid off the bill in full and even received a paid in full receipt via certified mail. Literally less than 2 weeks later, I received another copy of the original bill in the mail, except it had several $1,000s of additional charges. When I called, they said that they had missed portions of the billing, and they are now attempting to bill me 5 months later. Do I have to pay them?
I would like to see all that paperwork, but that strikes me as very odd. I would also like to know the amounts, and I know we don't have it in there. If it's another $100, it's probably not worth fighting about. But if you paid them $2,000 and they're now asking for another $2,000, and I'd also be interested in knowing. It sounds like this wasn't covered by insurance. So you really should have had an agreement with them up front as to what they were going to charge you. If this was direct billing, then you should have got an estimate before the procedure was done. So I would need to have more facts to give you a real concrete answer. But the main thing I want to know is if you told them up front, I'm not insured, I'm paying this out of my own pocket, they should have given you. It's just like buying a car. You don't buy the car until they tell you what the price is.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't charge you more than what they said they were going to charge you. So I just got to know more facts, man.
79. Yeah, he said it's over $4,000 of additional money. So
wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's worth fighting about. And again, if I'm assuming the insurance is not involved in this at all, as direct pay, and there should have been a conversation with them ahead of. If we're talking that kind of money, I'm sure you asked them ahead of time, what's this going to cost?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well,
hopefully got it in writing.
Yeah, hope it works out for you, 7944. But as Jay said, don't pay without getting some backup materials there. And finally, Jay, do you remember? You might not remember this, but someone has just asked, what was Charles Allen Head? I do. Remember what Charles Allen Head was suing me for? Remember that?
Maybe it was for you. May have banned him from the show.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And I forgot what tort he called it or what crime or whatever. I think it was just said, "Well, I'm being banned."
Right. I don't think violation of my freedom of speech. And he was a
great American, Ken. This gentleman, he was an older African American guy, and there's no telling what all he saw in his life.
Yeah.
And he was so wise, and so funny, so clever. He got to where he would write poems.
Oh, yeah.
And they were very good.
And had great ideas.
And this is how clever he is that when Matt threw him off his show, he drew up a lawsuit, and I promise you, he very intentionally made up a fake court so that he couldn't get in trouble. Just a great man, great man.
One of the best things I ever did in Birmingham is when Ani and I went and took him and his girlfriend to Walmart.
Yeah.
And took him on
to buy some stuff.
Buy stuff at Walmart. We took him in.
And then was it after he passed away? Didn't you stay in touch with his girlfriend, or maybe it's when he got real sick?
Ms. Oh gosh, what was her name?
And y'all were kind of her Uber for a while.
Yeah, we took her around for a little bit.
Brenda, wasn't her name Brenda?
Her name was Miss Brenda. That's exactly right.
And the funny thing about it, Ken, is Charles Allen Head would call in. Well, Brenda'd be in the other room
yelling.
She's yelling at him as to what to say, and you could hear her in the background.
That's awesome.
Tell that Matt Murphy I said you shut your mouth and you can't do that to me.
Shut up, Brenda.
It was fun. It was fun. You could have made a TV show out of it. It was funny.
And I kicked him off the show for 2 weeks because he wouldn't stop calling and bugging the producer. After he called, he kept calling and bugging the producer. And I said, well, you can't call in for 2 weeks because you violated the rules and you're bugging my producer. And so he sued me. And
you got sued.
In Alabama District Court.
Did he write it up with a crayon?
It was written with a crayon, but he didn't have to pay $400.
No. Because the court didn't exist. Jay, you know how much I love you, brother. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again next time.
Thank you, brother.
All right, 55 after the hour on Super Talk. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for Savory Spice. If you're out and about over the course of the weekend, pop into Savory Spice, located in Franklin, convenient to the Franklin Square. If you know where the square is, look for Grace Pharmacy sign, and there's Savory Spice right there beside Grace Pharmacy. You go in, you'll smell the delicious aromas of salts and peppers and different types of seasoning, and whether it's a oregano, just anything, any flavor imaginable for the food that you're cooking. They've got it at Savory Spice. Plus, they've got great food ideas. They have great grilling tips and great ideas for dad if he loves to grill outside during the summer season. If he's the master of his grill, get him some grill stuff from Savory Spice. Great stuffers for the Father's Day gift that you're thinking about for dad or for your uncle or for anybody really in the family. It's Savory Spice. Go by and see Holly and David. They're locally owned, and I absolutely love that about them. And they just up your spice game. You up your spice game at Savory Spice, the one and only. Right there, just off the square in Franklin. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you. Have you gotten an incorrect diagnosis with your European automobile? There are a lot of them out there, and it's sadly true that so many folks get misdiagnosed from time to time. What about getting to Eurofix? They don't offer misdiagnosis. They actually correct those misdiagnoses. So if it's a second opinion, or if you've just gotten a problem with your European automobile and you need it corrected, before you spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars on European vehicle auto repair, go to Eurofix. They can save you a lot of time and a lot of money. Life's too short to get stressed about it. Be happy and go to Eurofix. At Eurofix, you get a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection with every visit. They don't pressure you to do anything you don't want to do. You get a 3-year nationwide warranty on repairs, and you get a free loaner car with every repair appointment. In 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Franklin, Belmead, and Mount Juliet. Call 844-EUROFIX. That's 844-EUROFIX.
Five o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. The weather putting a damper on CMA Fest. Outdoor stages are closed. Evening venues are delayed. You might want to check on the shows you are hoping to see today and tonight, just to make sure you're not going to be making a wasted trip. Now, I'm not saying much, but parts of Middle Tennessee and southern Kentucky are under a tornado watch until 8 o'clock tonight. We've had some severe storms come through the area, and that's particularly concerning whenever we're under this tornado watch, because that means the conditions are ripe for any of those severe thunderstorms to start rotating, and then tornado warnings would be issued. We don't have anything like that right now. In fact, we have a break from the rain, but we do have an area of what appears to be some pretty strong storms to the west of Nashville right now, almost to Clarksville, slowly creeping this way, and we'll keep you advised as to the weather. Full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Kilmar Abrego Garcia back in the U.S. to face criminal charges for alleged human trafficking spanning a decade. The man, originally from El Salvador, was living in Maryland when the Trump administration said he was mistakenly deported to El Salvador, where he's from. Earlier today, Attorney General Pam Bondi announced more than 2 months after that error, a federal grand jury has indicted him for allegedly transporting thousands of undocumented migrants, and he's coming back to stand trial.
It is alleged this defendant is part of the same smuggling ring responsible for the death of more than 50 migrants in 2021 after the tractor trailer overturned in Mexico.
Yeah, the 2-count indictment, which was filed under seal in federal court here in Tennessee last month, was unsealed today. Channel 4 says authorities have narrowed the search for the missing pet zebra in Rutherford County after he was spotted this morning in the area of I-24 in Christiana.
Everybody out here has either seen it or it's held up traffic or they live next door to where it came from. So it's been a fun thing. It's been, everybody is talking about the zebra. Facebook is lit up with zebra. Everybody's got the zebra on their mind.
Ed, as the zebra's been nicknamed on social media, is skittish. Not an animal you want to mess with, according to Zoo Nashville officials who say zebras are dangerous to people. So if you see Ed, call the sheriff's department, stay clear. Right now in Oregon, law enforcement officials say they arrested a teenager last month with the same beliefs as the California fertility clinic bomber. The FBI says this kid pledged allegiance to several online nihilistic, violent extremist groups and ideologies. They say he had detailed plans for a mass murder at the Three Rivers Mall in Kelso, Washington. The plan was to set off a chlorine bomb at a movie theater, then shoot everybody as they ran out, and then commit suicide. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, Clarksville Highway Patrol says there's a crash 24 eastbound just past Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. In Berryhill, Metro Police say there's a crash 65 southbound past Armory Drive. Whites Creek Police reporting the on-ramp is partially blocked by a crash. That is to go eastbound on 24 from Old Hickory Boulevard. In Antioch, TDOT says there's a crash 24 eastbound past Hickory Hollow Parkway. And in Brentwood, TDOT says the right shoulder is blocked by a crash 65 northbound at Concord Road. In Jolton, Highway Patrol reporting a crash 24 westbound between exits 31 and exit 24. And in Hillwood, a stalled vehicle on the shoulder. That's going to be 40 westbound before Charlotte Pike. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 5:07. We're about to get to our very special presentation of a speech delivered by Ronald Reagan, the 40th President of the United States of America, on the 40th anniversary of D-Day. We're doing that in just a moment. I do it every year on June 6th because I think this is an incredibly important day, in one of the most important days in world history, truly. That said, we've got other news that is breaking right now regarding Abrego Garcia, the El Salvadorian in Nashville, known in liberal media circles as a Maryland man. He is back on American soil. He is returning to the United States of America to face federal criminal charges and is set to appear soon before a judge in Nashville. Set to appear soon before a judge in Nashville. According to #NeverCNN, what a garbage network full of garbage people spewing garbage. I cannot say it enough. Don't watch this trash. I'll watch, so you don't have to. It's an occupational hazard. But their take on this, they have exclusive reporting that a DOJ official resigned in protest over the charges against Abrego Garcia. Well, may I be the first to say to CNN, who gives a crap?
Who cares?
Who cares? By the way, you liberals on CNN and you liberals in Congress, all of you libbies that made him the face of your disgust over the Trump administration's deportation efforts, if it weren't for y'all, none of this would be happening to the dude. Because you made him the face of the unfortunate consequences of the Trump administration's efforts to deport people who ought not to be deported, y'all made him the cause celeb. And when you made him the cause celeb, it put the crosshairs on Abrego Garcia and his past activities in the United States of America. And we told y'all he broke the law, and you tried to say no. You've got to bring him back. He never broke the law. He was your father. He was a Maryland. Okay. You know what? You play effed up games, you get effed up prizes. Congratulations. Now he gets his due process. Old boy could just be back in El Salvador. Or I guess in a prison in El Salvador. Well, now he's going to be in a prison around here, around these parts. In the meantime, nobody cares if a DOJ official quit as a result. They probably don't want them in the Trump administration anyway. Julie, it is not the 40th anniversary of D-Day. That's not what I said. I said Ronald Reagan delivered a speech on June 6th, 1984. On the 40th anniversary of D-Day. That speech was delivered 41 years ago this year. In that speech, Ronald Reagan addressed the broader themes of freedom and liberty and what it meant then and what it means to us now. And I do not believe that these words have lost any poignancy over the years. Without further ado, Ronald Reagan at Pointe du Hoc.
We're here to mark that day in history when the Allied armies joined in battle to reclaim this continent to liberty. For 4 long years, much of Europe had been under a terrible shadow. Free nations had fallen. Jews cried out in the camps. Millions cried out for liberation. Europe was enslaved and the world prayed for its rescue. Here in Normandy, the rescue began. Here the Allies stood and fought against tyranny in a giant undertaking unparalleled in human history. We stand on a lonely, windswept point on the northern shore of France. The air is soft, but 40 years ago at this moment, the air was dense with smoke and the cries of men, and the air was filled with the crack of rifle fire and the roar of cannon. At dawn on the morning of the 6th of June, 1944, 225 Rangers jumped off the British landing craft and ran to the bottom of these cliffs. Their mission was one of the most difficult and daring of the invasion: to climb these sheer and desolate cliffs and take out the enemy guns. The Allies had been told that some of the mightiest of these guns were here, and they would be trained on the beaches to stop the Allied advance. The Rangers looked up and saw the enemy soldiers at the edge of the cliffs shooting down at them with machine guns and throwing grenades, and the American Rangers began to climb. They shot rope ladders over the face of these cliffs and began to pull themselves up. When one Ranger fell, another would take his place. When one rope was cut, a Ranger would grab another and begin his climb again. They climbed, shot back, and held their footing. Soon, one by one, the Rangers pulled themselves over the top, and in seizing the firm land at the top of these cliffs, they began to seize back the continent of Europe. 225 came here. After 2 days of fighting, only 90 could still bear arms. And behind me is a memorial that symbolizes the Ranger daggers that were thrust into the top of these cliffs. And before me are the men who put them there. These are the boys of Pointe de Hope. These are the men who took the cliffs. These are the champions who helped free a continent. And these are the heroes who helped end a war. Gentlemen, I look at you and I think of the words of Stephen Spender's poem. You are men who in your, quote, lives fought for life and left the vivid air signed with your honor. I think I know what you may be thinking right now, thinking we were just part of a bigger effort. Everyone was brave that day. Well, everyone was. Do you remember the story of Bill Millen of the 51st Highlanders? 40 years ago today, British troops were pinned down near a bridge waiting desperately for help. Suddenly they heard the sound of bagpipes, and some thought they were dreaming. Well, they weren't. They looked up and saw Bill Millen with his bagpipes leading the reinforcements and ignoring the smack of the bullets into the ground around him. Lord Lovat was with him, Lord Lovat of Scotland, who calmly announced when he got to the bridge, "Sorry, I'm a few minutes late," as if he'd been delayed by a traffic jam, when in truth he'd just come from the bloody fighting on Sword Beach, which he and his men had just taken. There was the impossible valor of the Poles, who threw themselves between the enemy and the rest of Europe as the invasion took hold, and the unsurpassed courage of the Canadians, who had already seen the horrors of war on this coast. They knew what awaited them there, but they would not be deterred. And once they hit Juno Beach, they never looked back. All of these men were part of a roll call of honor with names that spoke of a pride as bright as the colors they bore. The Royal Winnipeg Rifles, Poland's 24th Lancers, the Royal Scots Fusiliers, the Screaming Eagles, the Yeomen of England's armored divisions, the forces of Free France, the Coast Guard's Matchbox Fleet, and you, the American Rangers. 40 summers have passed since the battle that you fought here. You were young the day you took these cliffs. Some of you were hardly more than boys with the deepest joys of life before you. Yet you risked everything here. Why? Why did you do it? Well, what impelled you to put aside the instinct for self-preservation and risk your lives to take these cliffs? What inspired all the men of the armies that met here? We look at you and somehow we know the answer. It was faith and belief. It was loyalty and love. The men of Normandy had faith that what they were doing was right, faith that they fought for all humanity, faith that a just God would grant them mercy on this beachhead or on the next. It was the deep knowledge, and pray God we have not lost it, that there is a profound moral difference between the use of force for liberation and the use of force for conquest. You were here to liberate, not to conquer, and so you and those others did not doubt your cause, and you were right not to doubt. You all knew that some things are worth dying for. One's country is worth dying for, and democracy is worth dying for because it's the most deeply honorable form of government ever devised by man. All of you loved liberty. All of you were willing to fight tyranny, and you knew the people of your countries were behind you. The Americans who fought here that morning knew word of the invasion was spreading through the darkness back home. They fought or felt in their hearts, though they couldn't know in fact, that in Georgia they were filling the churches at 4 a.m. In Kansas, they were kneeling on their porches and praying. And in Philadelphia, they were ringing the Liberty Bell. Something else helped the men of D-Day. Their rock-hard belief that Providence would have a great hand in the events that would unfold here, that God was an ally in this great cause. And so the night before the invasion, when Colonel Wolverton asked his parachute troops to kneel with him in prayer, he told them, "Do not bow your heads, but look up so you can see God and ask his blessing in what we are about to do." Also that night, General Matthew Ridgway on his cot, listening in the darkness for the promise God made to Joshua, "I will not fail thee nor forsake thee." These are the things that impelled them. These are the things that shaped the unity of the Allies. When the war was over, there were lives to be rebuilt and governments to be returned to the people. There were nations to be reborn. Above all, there was a new peace to be assured. These were huge and daunting tasks, but the Allies summoned strength from the faith, belief, loyalty, and love of those who fell here. They rebuilt a new Europe together. There was first a great reconciliation among those who had been enemies, all of whom had suffered so greatly. The United States did its part, creating the Marshall Plan to help rebuild our allies and our former enemies. The Marshall Plan led to the Atlantic Alliance, a great alliance that serves to this day as our shield for freedom, for prosperity, and for peace. In spite of our great efforts and successes, not all that followed the end of the war was happy or planned. Some liberated countries were lost. The great sadness of this loss echoes down to our own time in the streets of Warsaw, Prague, and East Berlin. The Soviet troops that came to the center of this continent did not leave when peace came. They're still there, uninvited, unwanted, unyielding, almost 40 years after the war. Because of this, Allied forces still stand on this continent. Today, as 40 years ago, our armies are here for only one purpose: to protect and defend democracy. The only territories we hold are memorials like this one and graveyards where our heroes rest. We in America have learned bitter lessons from 2 world wars. It is better to be here ready to protect the peace than to take blind shelter across the sea, rushing to respond only after freedom is lost. We've learned that isolationism never was and never will be an acceptable response to tyrannical governments with an expansionist intent. But we try always to be prepared for peace, prepared to deter aggression, prepared to negotiate the reduction of arms, and yes, prepared to reach out again in the spirit of reconciliation. In truth, there is no reconciliation we would welcome more than a reconciliation with the Soviet Union, so together we can lessen the risks of war now and forever. It's fitting to remember here the great losses also suffered by the Russian people during World War II. 20 million perished, a terrible price that testifies to all the world the necessity of ending war. I tell you from my heart that we in the United States do not want war. We want to wipe from the face of the earth the terrible weapons that man now has in his hands. And I tell you, we're ready to seize that beachhead. We look for some sign from the Soviet Union that they are willing to move forward, that they share our desire and love for peace, and that they will give up the ways of conquest. There must be a changing there that will allow us to turn our hope into action. We will pray forever that someday that changing will come. But for now, particularly today, it is good and fitting to renew our commitment to each other, to our freedom, and to the alliance that protects it. We're bound today by what bound us 40 years ago, the same loyalties, traditions, and beliefs. We're bound by reality. The strength of America's allies is vital to the United States, and the American security guarantee is essential to the continued freedom of Europe's democracies. We were with you then, we're with you now. Your hopes are our hopes, and your destiny is our destiny. Here in this place, where the West held together, let us make a vow to our dead. Let us show them by our actions that we understand what they died for. Let our actions say to them the words for which Matthew Ridgway listened: I will not fail thee nor forsake thee. Strengthened by their courage, heartened by their value, and borne by their memory, let us continue to stand for the ideals for which they lived and died. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
In a speech written by Peggy Noonan and delivered by President Ronald Reagan on June 6th, 1984, and still poignant today. We'll be back. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy. USS stands for United Structural Systems. So you don't know what you don't know, right? But if you've seen the signs, ignoring them is not going to make them go away. I'm talking about signs of stair-step cracking in your mortar joints. I'm talking about issues involving walls bowing, windows sticking, doors sticking, or moist places in your basement or your crawl space, mold or mildew in your basement or your crawl space. It's all examples of what can happen when foundation issues descend upon your home, when waterproofing issues descend upon your home. Let's get the experts here. Let's get USS, United Structural Systems. They can come out and analyze your situation and tell you exactly what's going on. They've been doing it for over 30 years. They've had almost 30,000 satisfied customers now, and these are residential folks. They offer their testimony that USS is simply the best. They offer their best at USS. Homeowners trust them. You can too. Call USS today at 615-488-7855, 488-7855, or go to USSTN.com and tell them Matt Murphy sent you. Friends, Matt Murphy here for Safe House, and Nashville Safe House wants to see you. Whether it's for protection purposes or maybe your valuables, you want to keep them safe from the possibility of fire or from theft, it's time to get a safe from Nashville Safe House. Mark and his team have them. Man, oh man, do they have them. You walk through the showroom and you think, man, this is more safes than I've ever seen in my life. There's no way there's more than this. Oh, there are. Like twice as many more because they have about 200 safes on the showroom floor. It's like a maze of safes. And then they have even more safes in their warehouse. They have something for everyone. Why do they have so many safes? I get asked this question from time to time. It's because they want to make sure that they have the right one for you, that you don't have to wait, whether it's size, shape, fire rating, or price point, and that they can deliver that with one of their professional delivery crews. Mark and his team, they hire the crews. They don't third-party this thing out. They work for Nashville Safe House, so he can vouch for these people that are coming into your home that know the combination to your safe. That's important, right? Yeah, it is most important. Go to NashvilleSafeHouse.com to find out more. Remember, gun safes are always sales tax free at Nashville Safe House, or stop by on 4th Avenue South in Nashville. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Nashville Safe House.
Well, the Salvadoran man arrested in Maryland and deported 2 months ago is back to face criminal charges. And the FDA plans a safety review of the ingredients in the abortion pill, mifepristone. These stories and more coming up at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And it's my pleasure. I appreciate all of your kind words on the Super Text line. We do that every year. It is one of my favorite political speeches in American history because I think, the master stroke, Peggy Noonan wrote it, as I mentioned. Peggy Noonan was a primary speechwriter for President Ronald Reagan. Peggy Noonan is most known for the Pointe du Hoc speech. She also wrote the speech that Ronald Reagan delivered in the aftermath of the Challenger explosion, when he said, let us remember them as we last saw them before they slipped the surly bonds of earth and touched the face of God. It is a master class in remembering, in honoring, in touching on the principles of free men and free women and democracy, as Reagan put it. And, if the word democracy is good enough for Ronald Reagan, it's good enough for me. I always laugh when people get into the semantic argument. I think of Reagan. I think of that speech as he refers to democracy. But he also parlayed that into a discussion about what was going on right then and there with the Soviet Union and their threat that they presented on the continent of Europe and the fact that the American people would be there should that threat escalate in any form or fashion. Well, there's always a threat. There's always a threat. And we always have to recognize, I don't want to get into any foreign engagement. I don't want to get into any foreign war. I don't want to get into any engagement with any foreign country. But we need to be ready and stalwart should and if the possibility exists that it pops itself up again. It is interesting to note how time is undefeated because Ronald Reagan it has been longer since Ronald Reagan delivered that speech than it was between the time that he delivered it and D-Day. It's been now 41 years since he delivered the speech, and it was 40 years past when he delivered it. It's just time moves forward, but we honor those brave men who sacrificed all for the betterment of mankind. It is time for news on Super Talk.
.5:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. You might want to check your schedule and your weather app for CMA Fest because it looks like the weather has prompted the closure of the outdoor stages, and then some of the other events are on a delay. due to the weather that has been moving across Middle Tennessee today. In fact, right now, we've got a severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 5:45. This is going to be for Dixon, Montgomery, southeastern Stewart, Houston, northern Cheatham, and western Robertson counties. Right now, radar's indicating a severe thunderstorm 10 miles northeast of Aaron. It's moving east at 45 miles per hour. The thunderstorm warned area is also part of a tornado watch until 8 o'clock tonight. Right now in Arkansas, folks are breathing easier over in the natural state. Grant Hardin, the former police chief on the run after escaping prison where he was serving decades for murder and rape, has reportedly been recaptured. And Attorney General Pam Bondi says Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Salvadoran man living in Maryland when he was deported in March, is now back in the U.S. In fact, he is in federal custody here in Tennessee. He's charged with taking part in a conspiracy to transport thousands of illegal migrants from Houston to the interior of the country. The indictment alleges that guns and drugs were smuggled as part of the conspiracy and that Abrego Garcia alone ran more than 100 trips from Texas to Maryland and other states.
It is alleged this defendant is part of the same smuggling ring responsible for the death of more than 50 migrants in 2021 after the tractor trailer overturned in Mexico.
Yeah, so the indictments were released today. They were filed actually last month here in Tennessee, and the indictment released today. Now, Abrego Garcia's attorneys say they'll fight to ensure he receives a fair trial, something they say he has yet to be afforded. And one day after appearing in Colorado State Court on 118 charges, including attempted murder, the man accused of firebombing a pro-Israel march in Boulder last weekend made his initial court appearance in federal court on a single hate crime count today. Muhammad Solomon had visible burns on the right side of his face, presumably where he burned himself during that attack. He wore headphones in court to listen to an interpreter speak to him in Arabic. His preliminary hearing on the federal count has been set for June 18th. And right now in our nation's capital, the FDA says it plans to review the latest data on the safety of mifepristone, the abortion pill. CBS says experts say concerns about its safety are misguided. They're citing a report from the Ethics and Public Policy Center, which promotes religious traditions and gets money from multiple right-wing organizations. Mifepristone was first approved by the FDA in 2000. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, in Clarksville, Highway Patrol says there's a crash 24 eastbound past Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. In Brentwood, TDOT says there's a crash on the right shoulder 65 northbound at Concord Road. Whites Creek, police say there's a crash partially blocking the on-ramp from Old Hickory Boulevard to eastbound 24. And in Antioch, TDOT says there's a crash 24 eastbound just past Hickory Hollow Parkway. Then in Jolton, Highway Patrol says the crash is 24 westbound between New Hope Road and Springfield Ashland City. That's exits 31 and exit 24. And in Hillwood, a stalled vehicle on the right shoulder 40 westbound before Charlotte Pike. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yeah, we've been warning you that it's this time of year where your AC is going to begin working a little bit harder because it's working to keep up. And if it's already gotten an issue, well, that issue is probably just going to get worse during the summer months. Let's go ahead and call Jeff Eddy in Efficient Heating and Cooling. If anything goes wrong with your AC, they're the name that you can trust. Efficient Heating and Cooling. They don't claim to be the biggest HVAC company in the state. Well, and that is good for you, right? Because you don't have to pay for enormous overhead in that regard. If you're trying to make a decision about whether to replace or repair, they're the number one call that you should make, because Jeff Eddy doesn't try to upsell you. He just gives you facts. And facts are that at some point, the AC is going to go kaput. And when that happens, they're an Elite Pro partner with Rheem, and they're ready with financing options available to you to get a new unit into your home as quickly and as inexpensively as possible. But they're going to try to repair it first and foremost, and they're going to do everything they can for you. Give them a call today if you have problems, 615-784-4424, 784-4424, or go to efficienthvac.net. Hey, it's probably going to be our last chance to see one another for quite some time. Tuesday, June 17 at King's Dining and Entertainment. It's King's Bowl, as it's commonly known. And Weaver, I heard something earlier today, and I'm going to push for this, brother.
All right.
I want you at the event. I thought you did a great job at Nashville Palace presenting the news live and in person. Do you really want to do it again?
I'll do it again.
Man. I'd say I want that. I'd love it. Absolutely love it. Now, Weber, he'll probably be back here. Or who knows?
I ain't going out there.
Yeah, no. Heck with all that.
Too many people.
Well, I mean, I get it. I get it. Well, I mean, the problem with the Nashville Palace is that your job was to look at us.
Yeah, Brother Chris had to look at us.
I got to look at you. That's enough.
Right. And then
you add 3, 4 more.
Add Hand and Weaver and Brian Wilson, for goodness sake. I mean, my goodness gracious.
Chad Benson, too.
Chad. My gosh, Chad.
I mean, at least here, Chris doesn't have to look at me except on the screen there.
That's true. Well, you're looking good, Weaver. Looking good. I want to see you out at King's Bowl one way or the other. It's free. You can buy some food. You can buy some beverage. We'll be there at 3 o'clock. Broadcasting the entire show, and then right around 6 o'clock, Dan Mandis, Chris Hand, Chad Benson, and maybe Ken Weaver, the rest of the crew, they join in. We just kind of do a mid-year review, what has happened, what we expect to happen, just an opportunity for us to all get together and break bread and have a good time. And my last chance to do that before I go under the old knife.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, a week later. Less than a week later. So just to give you an update on that, insurance approved it, which is nice. I got a call.
That's good.
How about this? I got a call, And the lady was very nice. And I don't quite think I understand exactly everything she was saying because it was hard to hear. But she said, you'll be getting billed from 3. And the last time I had surgery like this was, my appendix burst when I was 9.
Ooh. I had that happen.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, when I was 19.
It hurt.
Sucked.
Hurt, didn't it?
Yes.
Ken, one of these days, you and I need to compare notes.
All right.
Because I don't know that all I remember is I was in a lot of pain, and I went to the local hospital, and they thought it was gas.
That's what I thought I had.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah,
and it was not.
No. Fortunately, a buddy of mine came over, and he said, Weaver, we need to get you to the hospital.
Wow.
And I said, okay.
Good for you. Well, you know what happened with me? I was staying with my grandparents. My stepfather, he didn't get along with kids very well, but one way or the other. So I was staying with my grandparents. My grandma took me to McDuffie County Hospital, and that jerk said, "Oh, he's just got gas. We'll just give him something to alleviate gas pain and constipation, and we'll send him home." And I had a little low-grade fever at the time, and he didn't think anything of it. So I got home. By the time 9 or 10 o'clock rolls around, the fever had gotten over 100, and my grandmother was worried. And so she called Mama, and Lane got on the phone. And Lane didn't do a lot for me back in the day because, once again, he didn't like kids, and he had some mental issues. But Lane had his appendix burst when he was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so he asked my grandmother a couple of questions, and he said, "We're coming over there." And he came over and got me in the car and took me to Augusta, 30 miles away, to the big hospital. And if it weren't for that, I don't know what would have happened because my appendix burst in the waiting room. I remember when it happened.
Yeah.
Pain. And I'm like, my goodness. I mean, I'm only 9, but I'm like, this is the worst pain I could ever have.
Yeah.
And then God proved me wrong. Said, no. Let's, boom, hit you with that. And it was, and then I kind of passed out.
Yeah.
I don't remember what.
Well, it'll kill you.
Oh, yeah.
That's nothing but poison then running around in you.
Were you? Did you get to the hospital before you popped?
I'm not sure when it popped. All I remember when I got to the hospital is they said, "Oh yeah, get him in immediately." And this nurse leaning over me and saying, "Honey, you getting better to do real fine." And that's the last I remember. Woke up about 2 days later and.
There's the same deal. I remember the pain. I remember getting, and I remember they were filling out paperwork. And when the pain hit a next level, which is when I assume it burst, I started screaming, and a doctor came in and poked. And I remember the doctor saying, "We've got to get him back right now."
Yeah.
And I went back, and then the last thing I remember is them putting a mask over my face. And then I woke up a day and a half later.
Yeah. Unfortunately for me, I woke up 2 days later, and there were people for the other fella there, and I realized that my little skirt was pulled to the side. And nobody told. Apparently nobody cared to pull it back.
They're nudging one another. Look at this guy.
Your little buddy was watching TV while you were out?
Yeah.
Maybe just checking out what the channels, checking out the sites.
I mean, his family's sitting there talking to him. And I'm just,
That's
hello,
terrible.
Hi there. Little Kenny.
Did he wake up before you did?
Yeah, he'd been awake the whole time. He was in worse shape than me, though. He had a tube coming out of his nose.
No.
I was like,
because his stomach wasn't working right.
Who are we talking about?
He's a nice fella.
I'm not entirely sure I understand what we're talking about anymore.
I think we got our wires crossed.
I think we're very confused.
I was following along, though, for a minute.
Too.
I was like, yeah, okay.
And I was like, wait, where's his stomach?
Yeah, his stomach wasn't working right.
Okay. Anyway, I got the call, and the lady said, she said, we just want you to know that your insurance has approved the surgery. And I said, well, that's good. And she said, you'll be getting billed from 3 entities. You'll be getting billed from the facility, from your anesthesiologist, and from Dr. Hageman. And she said, we expect that your deductible you'll use your deductible to cover the first two. And so we're going to let that happen. That's the part that I'm not quite sure about. But she said, but as far as Dr. Hageman goes, we've already talked to the insurance company. And when you come in for your pre-op on the 12th, we're going to go ahead and need at least half of what your insurance doesn't pay.
Really?
And so I was like, okay, what's that going to be?
Goodness.
And she told me. Anybody want to guess?
And you went,
your left arm?
Well, they're going to handle that anyway.
They're not going to give it back?
Now, understand, I'm getting billed from 3, and I know anesthesia is expensive, and I'm sure the facility is expensive. $396.
That's all?
That's it?
That's what I said. I'm like, wow. That's not bad.
That's pretty good.
The other shoe's dropping, though, boys. Something
it will.
Know it will.
Something's weird. So I don't know, but that's what I was told. And I said, man, I'll pay all of that right now.
Well, here's what I want to find out. First off, I hope you come out of this and you recover really fast, Brother Murphy.
Oh, yeah.
I do too.
But I want to find out if you actually are only charged by 3 entities.
We're going to find out together.
Yeah.
Me. Well, I promise you, me, you, and everybody listening to this show is going to know everything. And I'm talking to all you people about to charge me.
Yeah.
All of you. Yeah, everybody's going to know. But yeah, I figure if I come, look, I can just be honest with y'all. I figure if I get out of this thing at about $4 or $5 I feel good about it.
Yeah.
That's my portion.
Yeah, that's.
I think that's fair, right?
Yeah,
that'd be
probably.
good.
Yeah.
Because they're cutting my arm off.
Yeah, they're taking it completely off.
I'm saying it that way because it's what they're doing. They're detaching the arm from the shoulder.
Yeah. There may still be some tissue that they don't dislodge.
There'll be some meat, but I'm just hanging on by the flesh.
Is a doctor going to do it or a robot?
I almost said, well, I hope a doctor, but now that I think about it,
could go either way.
Yeah.
A doctor using a robot did my hernia surgeries.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, that's the last thing I saw before I went under. They said, you see that over there, Mr. Weaver? And it looked like a robot spider.
Oh.
And they said, that's what's going to do your surgery. And I went, well, I'll be.
When did I get in the middle of the movie Total Recall?
And then I was just out.
Yikes. How long ago was that?
That was almost 2 summers ago.
All good now, though?
All good, man.
That's good. That's good. Well, anyway, point is, Kings Bowl, 17th, be there, 3 o'clock, Murphy. Me doing this is hurting my left shoulder, and let's do nincompoops.
Nincompoops in the news.
Am I pointing the wrong direction? Was I? I was. Is that what you're joking? Is that what you're picking on me about?
No, I was saying we went all the way around.
It was a long way. It was a long way, and now we have no time for nincompoop. I have 2 nincompoop stories, and I don't know which one to use, and I don't know which one I'm going to go with. But one of them is just here to prove that not every nincompoop has to be naked.
Yeah, they do.
Well, Ken Weaver, with that in mind, you're a nincompoop, please.
All right, here we go. Naked machete-wielding indie wrestler charged with assault. This happened back on March 12, 2025. Indie wrestler Charlie Tiger has been arrested for stripping naked and threatening people with a machete.
Charlie Tiger.
Tiger's worked for various indie promotions, including CZW and GCW. His last appearance for GCW was at the People vs. GCW, in which he was part of the Battle Royale.
Uh-huh.
The same one which PCO won, and then later smashed the TNA. I do not know what that means.
Like you're speaking in code.
He smashed the TNA Digital Media Championship with a sledgehammer.
Sounds like a VIP.
Lower Allen Township Police in Pennsylvania were called to a disturbance in which it was reported a man had been running around a parking lot naked and threatening people in a store with a machete.
When MIA.
The police report states multiple witnesses reported that the male was yelling while holding the knife, stabbing the ground with the knife, and taking off his clothes.
Better get to him, PDQ.
During the incident, The suspect charged at bystanders in a threatening way with the knife. Additionally, the suspect stabbed a work van.
Oh, no.
Causing over $2,000 damage. The suspect was disarmed by a bystander. Must not have been a very good wrestler.
Yeah, he's not a very big fella.
Police located the suspect with the help of witnesses, and they took him to jail.
ASAP.
That's my nincompoop.
Mr. Weber, your nincompoop, sir.
2 hikers in New York's Adirondack Mountains called 911 to report a third member of their party had died. A state forest ranger was assigned to respond to the call, which happened on a Saturday, about a hiker who had reportedly died on the Cascade Mountain, which is a popular summit in the Adirondack High Peaks. The 2 hikers that called 911 also told a steward on the mountain summit that they were lost. Well, the steward said, quote, determined the hikers were in an altered mental state. Turns out they had been on magic mushrooms.
I was going to guess the shrooms.
And they were mistaken. The supposedly dead third party called and was not injured. So
Rangers asleep?
Rangers escorted 2 hikers down to an ambulance, which then took them to a hospital and brought the group's third party to the campsite where they all later met up.
Brah, he's dead, brah. Brah.
He's dead, officer.
He's dead, brah.
Oh, he's not breathing.
Look at him. We poked on him with a stick.
No, he's just high. And so are you.
One of these days I'll tell my I got a mushroom story from Amsterdam. One of these days when I know everybody better, I'll tell that story.
Right.
When I got to know y'all a little bit better to tell that story. It ended pretty much the same way. It actually ended with me on a train with Amsterdam police with rifles.
Ooh.
Good.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Demanding that we get off the train.
Wow.
But one of these days I'll tell that story. But for now, I'm going to tell this story, and I'm going with Bakersfield, California, to prove to all of you that every nincompoop in the news is not necessarily naked. 9 felony counts have been filed against a Kern County Sheriff's lieutenant who allegedly drove drunk and was involved in an automobile crash. Patrick McNeil was charged Wednesday with multiple counts of DUI. I'll get to the multiple counts in just a moment. Causing injury, hit and run causing injury, and misdemeanor resisting arrest. Prosecutors say the charges include enhancements for having a high blood alcohol content and injuring more than one person. Arraignment has not been yet scheduled. McNeil, you see, crashed not once, but twice in 2 separate vehicles within 2 hours.
Wow.
On March 16th. He was off duty at the time. Well, that's nice that he was off duty.
Yeah,
that's
thankfully,
good.
sure.
The first crash happened around noon at Stockdale Highway and Allen Road. Police say McNeil was cited for driving under the influence, and officers had his car towed and took him home. About 2 hours later, officers were called to a hit-and-run crash at Coffee and 7th. Wow. McNeil was identified as the driver who fled. He was later found at the Lerndo Jail, where he was arrested after a short standoff, according to district attorneys. The Kern County District Attorney's Office conducted additional investigation and determined the full extent of the injuries to parties in both collisions. So this nincompoop drove drunk, got arrested. He's a sheriff's lieutenant. And then went back on out and did it again. Man, oh, man. I mean, that ain't just alcohol, friends. You know what that is?
That's a problem.
That's nincompoopery right there. Nincompoopery. There you go. Ken Weaver, Chris Weber, Matt Murphy. Your votes count. Your votes matter. 615-737-9986.
Charlie Tiger.
We'll get back ASAP to you VIPs on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So the bugs are out and about, right? I mean, guys, they are growing in abundance because they are making little baby bugs, and those little baby bugs want in your house too. They want to eat your food. They want to, they're little communists, all these little bugs. And U.S. Pest is going to help. If you currently have pest control and you're dissatisfied, go give U.S. Pest a call. Or if you think that you're getting everything out of your pest control that you can get, give U.S. Pest a call and allow them to compare the pricing, allow them to compare the full service that are committed. And I'm telling you, U.S. Pest is the only one that I will recommend. I love J.K. and Erica Brister. They're great people, but that's not the reason to recommend them. I mean, great people, sure. Great company, great results. That's the reason that we recommend U.S. Pest. With full-service pest control, termite protection, and crawl-space service available, with monthly visits available, or whenever you want to schedule it, U.S. Pest can help. The purpose of pest control is simple: to keep bugs away from you and your family, and they do it well at U.S. Pest. At U.S. Pest, they love the United States of America, and they hate bugs. 590-1260, 590-1260 for our friends at U.S. Pest.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Attorney General Pam Bondi says Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Salvadoran man who was living in Maryland when he was deported in March, is back in the U.S. In fact, he's in federal custody here in Nashville, charged with taking part in a conspiracy to transport thousands of illegal migrants from Houston to the interior of the country.
He made over 100 trips, the grand jury found, smuggling people throughout our country.
Yeah, the indictment filed last month and unsealed today alleges that guns and drugs were also smuggled as part of the conspiracy.
It is alleged this defendant is part of the same smuggling ring responsible for the death of more than 50 migrants in 2021 after the tractor trailer overturned in Mexico.
Now, Abrego Garcia's attorney says this is an abuse of power, and they'll fight to ensure he receives a fair trial, something they say he has yet to be afforded.
I am looking forward to having the opportunity to visit with him this weekend or early next week, as soon as possible.
Right now in Arkansas, an ex-police chief who escaped prison by impersonating a police officer has been recaptured after being on the run since May 25th. Here's Alex Stone.
The hunt for Grant Harden went on for nearly 2 weeks, and in the end, he was captured just over a mile away from the prison grounds where he escaped from. Harden is an ex-police chief who was convicted of rape and murder. He was known as a devil in the Ozarks. After being recaptured, his identity was confirmed through fingerprints. Arkansas's Department of Corrections says he is now back in custody. Alex Stone, EBC News.
Back here in Middle Tennessee, Channel 4 says authorities have narrowed the search for the missing pet zebra in Rutherford County, spotted this morning along I-24 in Christiana.
I don't want him to get hurt. He's become a big figure out here.
Hope to catch him. Like I say, it's been a fun thing. It's been a running joke for 6 days. It's been so funny. Other than that, I hope to catch him.
Ed, as the zebra's been nicknamed on social media, is skittish. Not an animal you want to mess with, according to Zoo Nashville officials who say zebras are dangerous to people. So if you happen to see Ed, keep your distance and call the authorities. Veterans gathered this morning in Normandy, France, marking the 81st anniversary of the D-Day landings. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth commemorated the anniversary.
To walk over or run, if you can, carrying equipment over that open beach as shells and bullets thunder around you again and again, I cannot imagine. Could you do that? Could I?
Nearly 160,000 Allied troops landed on the shores on D-Day. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Clarksville Highway Patrol reporting a crash 24 eastbound past Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. In Antioch, police say there's a crash Murfreesboro Pike and Morris Gentry Boulevard. Also, 24 eastbound past Hickory Hollow Parkway. Then in Brentwood, TDOT says there's a crash 65 northbound at Concord Road. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
One more hour, fellers, and we'll hand it to Mark Levin, and we'll call it a weekend from the Matt Murphy Radio Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We broadcast live every day, Monday through Friday, from 3 until 7 from the butt end of Music Row. Happy CMA Fest. Boo. I mean, yeah, kind of boo. I mean, I'm glad. Bring your money. Bring your wallets.
Yeah.
Spend a lot.
Just stay away from me.
Well, yeah.
Man, there's so many people.
I mean, it's a lot of people. You ever been to one of them things?
No.
No?
No.
No. Me either. I hear they used to be fun.
Yeah, I'm sure back,
40 years ago?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah. Nowadays, good Lord. I mean, I don't even understand, and maybe some of you can call me and tell me. If you have been in the past and maybe have been in the recent past, call us and tell us, 615-737-9986, what CMA Fest used to be. Because what it used to be was just a fanfare, right? It was just country music singers show up and they sign autographs and take pictures. And
yeah, I think they used to have it at the fairgrounds, actually.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Wow. Hey, Weaver, have you ever been to CMA Fest?
I never have.
I haven't either.
I mean, I've been down here for it.
Well, yeah.
But I've never gone to it.
Daryl says fanfare was much better at the fairgrounds. Well, I guess it was. I think, I want, when did it start? That's the question. When did the CMA Fest, as it's called now, or fanfare or whatever, when did that start? Sometime in the 1970s, maybe?
Boy, that'd have been a good time to see all those artists.
That's what I'm thinking.
1972.
Oh, man.
I'm talking about. That's like 75, 76. That is just prime.
That's prime. That's outlaw country
that is
time,
prime
too, boy.
Dolly Parton time right there. Prime DP time. So I think I told this story to you, Ken. Maybe not, but when I got all the stuff out of my grandparents' house, before I moved to Nashville, this is back in 2015. My grandpa passed away. I found a program for the Country Music Hall of Fame. Like, the type of thing that they sell when, hey, you bought a ticket to the Country Music Hall of Fame and you buy it. It looked like about a $2 thing, and it would show the stars' homes and how to get there in Nashville.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and this was when the Country Music Hall of Fame was still on, obviously, DeMunbrian. I think it was on DeMunbrian. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong, old school. And I'm flipping through it, and it was from 1968. 1968 or 1969.
Cool.
And I'm flipping, and I get to it's got all the stars that have been inducted in the Country Music Hall of Fame, and there is the face of Porter Wagner.
Awesome.
And there is Porter Wagner's signature right next to his face. And right underneath Porter Wagner's signature,
yes, sir,
is Dolly Parton's.
Oh.
So Dolly Parton obviously was not in her photograph was not in there, but I don't know if this is true or not. I just want to believe, because I went online and checked the signature, and it's right. So my grandparents never told me that they had ever been to Nashville, Tennessee, much less to the Country Music Hall of Fame. Much less did they tell me, and my grandmother was a huge country music fan.
Yeah.
CMA constantly on in the house. So in my head, They went to the Country Music Hall of Fame, and this was right around the time that Dolly Parton was on the Porter Wagner show.
Yeah.
And so I suppose that it would have made sense that if they were out, doing some sort of meet and greet, that my grandparents got their signatures and got Dolly's signature right there with Porter Wagner's. How about that?
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. But anyway, it's my understanding that fanfare used to be something a little different than it is now. We got some calls on it, and we'll get to your telephone calls momentarily at 615-737-9986. In the meantime, the red-headed stranger has chimed in and has reminded me that they missed at least one category of payment that I'm going to need to make post-surgery. There's the anesthesiologist, there's the surgical center, there's the actual surgeon, and then there is physical therapy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I forgot about physical therapy.
Did you say the surgical center?
Yes, I did.
Okay, yeah, because they'll charge you too.
Yeah, surgery center, anesthesiologist, surgeon, and PT. I forgot about PT. So I'm going to have to pay for that. And,
I wouldn't give PT anything.
What the hell's Petey doing here? He's asking for money. Okay, we'll give him something. Tell him to get on out of here. This is supposed to be a sterile place. Petey, what are you doing here?
Can't smoke in here.
That's the doctor's name, Petey.
Remember, I don't know why this reminded me of it, but remember when the Seinfeld where Kramer dropped the mint into the guy?
Oh,
yes.
They were in the surgical gallery.
Yeah,
or whatever.
right.
Yeah,
yeah. It was a junior
yeah,
mint.
junior
It was
mint.
a junior mint.
Delicious.
And then Seinfeld, did it go? Yeah, it went in. It was. They are delicious. It's true. Then redheaded stranger Pamela says, it was bad for me. My surgery was in December, completely covered. PT started in January when the deductible started over. That's brutal. That's brutal. Yeah, I'm happy to note that I don't have that issue. I do have a couple of things to clean up here real quick, and then we'll get to your calls. One, an unwelcome visitor made his way. This could have been my nincompoop story, by the way. Y'all remember the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears? Goldilocks, if there was any justice in that world, Goldilocks would have been arrested, thrown in jail.
Yeah, she's breaking and entering.
Breaking in. She broke into the bears' house, ate their food.
Yeah, their porridge.
I mean, these poor bears just trying to live their lives, just trying to go about their business. And here comes Goldilocks sashaying into the house and sleeping on their stuff and eating their food.
Probably used up all their toilet paper.
It wouldn't surprise me. And you know how these women are.
Uh-huh.
I don't understand how they use so much.
It's a constant battle in my house.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm ready. I'm ready for the week to be done. But I got, like during COVID, remember, was it like this in Nashville that for no reason people started hoarding toilet paper?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm on the radio saying, guys, we don't really know what this is, but it's an infectious disease. It's not a diarrhea maker. But that didn't matter. You know what we did? We bought the morning show is Matt Murphy and Andrea Lindenberg, Matt and Ani. We bought toilet paper, and we had a window that would open on the third floor, and we invited listeners to drive by and we'd throw them rolls of toilet paper.
As long as they were wearing a mask.
As long as they're wearing a mask. But the wife decided that she was going to be a hoarder too, and it's just she and I. And I did the math. She bought 3 mega-size, Sam's Club-size packages of toilet paper.
Mm-hmm.
And she's looking for more. And I'm like, what are you doing? Would you leave it for someone else? And she's like, well, you never know. We might need it. And I was like, Erica, at this pace, I said, literally, if we used a roll a week, which between the two of us seems to be an unreasonable amount of roll of toilet paper.
Mm-hmm.
We have enough toilet paper for the next 4 years. Well, you never know.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I suppose. Anyway, an unwelcome visitor made its way into a local retirement community this week with that Goldilocks story in mind. The visitor wasn't a person, it was a black bear. It's kind of the reverse of the Goldilocks story. The bear broke into St. Andrews Village at about 11 o'clock Tuesday night. Charlene Elliott one of the nursing assistants working. I was sitting at our nursing station, heard a crash. I thought it was one of the aides that fell. I got up and I saw a bear was walking down the hall toward me. Photos provided by Channel 11 News show how the bear got in. There are visible claw marks on a windowsill. Another picture, shattered glass from a broken window. Going through my mind is, we got to get this thing out of here. The bear was inside St. Andrews for about 15 minutes and was seen lying on one of the beds at one point, seemingly wanting to take a nap. So it's kind of the reverse of the Goldilocks syndrome. That's not the story that I didn't decide to use. That's a double negative for nincompoop. So I'm going to save that story for just a moment. Justin wants to talk fanfare. Wesley, fanfare. Anthony's been holding for a long time, though, wants to talk immigration. Hey, Anthony, how are you?
Well, how about you?
I'm well. Thank you for calling.
You're welcome. I want to talk about Los Angeles, California today. That's what I call Los Angeles. Moops over there. That entire city is the nincompoop of the year, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah,
Did you
certainly.
read this story that came from I think it came from the Gateway Pundit, about they were doing a raid in Los Angeles, and these geniuses decided to block a moving car and, of course, get run over. What's happening today?
I don't understand I don't understand where liberals are on the issue of immigration. I asked the question yesterday, Anthony. I don't know if you were hearing me, but if you find yourself around any liberal or person that is sympathetic to the plight of illegal aliens, and if they're talking about how awful Trump is and how awful these deportations are and how horrible it is for the families and all of this, just ask them this question. You ready? Say, well, do you believe, I just want to know, do you believe that there should be rules regarding who can come into the country?
Okay.
And if they say no, there shouldn't be, then you know you're talking to a blithering idiot.
Okay.
Right. But because the natural answer is yes. I mean, of course, sane people believe that there should be rules. And so if you get a yes, if you say, well, do you believe there should be some rules for who gets to come in? When they say yes, just say, well, then answer me this. What do you do to the people who break the rules?
That's
it. I mean, it's just that simple.
That is true. Yeah, I just saw the video and I thought these people have lost their minds. And I can't even look at the West and just be like, this is a part of the United States. No, it's not. I don't recognize them. But that's all I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to mention that. Thank you. Man, I'd trade California for Canada, I think. And I know that Canada is not red by any stretch of the imagination, but I think I'd trade the two right now if I had the ability. Justin is next in College Grove. What is up, Justin?
Well, you were talking about fanfare being the original week. That's exactly correct. Loretta Lynn had her private fan club, which was quite well known back then, and her people were the Johnson sisters, Ludella, Loretta, and somebody else. I forget who it was, but anyway, they're the ones who spearheaded fanfare. And what it was meant to be was radio meets the artist meets the dedicated fans of each of those artists, and they all come together. You know, it's like a whole lot of polyester there, and it's just a great old time. In fact, I think it was like the time Garth was going, where that somewhat not too far after where it changed over to what it is today. But you were correct. It was a true fanfare, and this is just sort of like, you know, everybody coming along and just come and have a good time no matter what.
This feels,
I mean, that was created, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and I get it, and I've heard those stories that it was just literally, hey, if you're a super fan of Loretta's, or you're a super fan of George Jones, or you're a super fan of Hank Williams Jr., then come and meet them and get your picture taken with them. But now it just feels like a big country music festival.
That's exactly correct. You are right. The same synergy's not there. And what was neat is they were really dedicated. This is like the fan club presidents, and you know how dedicated they are. You know what I'm saying? It's not right now. I would say more the labels are leading the event instead of the fans. You know what I'm saying? Now the labels would be there during fanfare, but the fans were the top billing. And then, you know, Garth, I remember he stayed there for like 6 hours, I think, signing autographs. You know, in the early days, I mean, he would sign everything. And But people loved that time back then, and it was really, really, just a special time. And the Johnson sisters, I don't know if you ever remember them or not, but they were the, Loretta Lynn's people were the spearheads of it. And eventually, I forget how it transferred, but I remember they were trying to not hold it back. They were wanting it to go to the next level, and they sort of, let the reins go. You know what I'm saying?
Well, if things change, and I get it. I mean, it's human nature to look back, and thank you, Justin, for the call, to look back on things that used to be and wish they were the way that they used to be. I get all that. So I don't expect things to stay the same forever, but we seem to have lost certain aspects of what made that special. I'll just say it that way. Wesley, we'll get to you in a moment, 22 after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WT, and it's the Murphy Show. Back after this. $6707 just said, Chris Webber missed his calling in life, being a hermit. I don't think he's missed that calling.
Not at all.
I mean, I think he's got a job to do, but other than that, I mean, the private life. Anyway, all of that to say, let's talk about Tennessee Men's Clinic for a moment, okay? For those of you that are of a certain age, you just lose a step or two, right? I mean, and it's natural. As you get older, I mean, I never could run very fast, but I don't run as fast as I used to. I never could lift very much, but I don't lift as much as I used to. But it doesn't have to be the case when it comes to bedroom activity for intimacy and romance that you just chalk it up to, well, I'm of a certain age and I don't get to do that anymore. It's not the truth, because Tennessee Men's Clinic has proven time and time and time again for thousands of different men in this community that you can, revitalize that youthful approach to romance in your life. It can happen with you, man, and all it takes is a telephone call. All it takes is a visit to Tennessee Men's Clinic. They're qualified urologists. They have so many different programs available for you for any need that you might have in the bedroom, particularly low testosterone. They can handle it. They can take care of it. They're going to check it, and as you come in that day, they're going to tell you about your testosterone levels, amongst other things, and devise a plan of action, a plan of success. Give them a call at 615-208-9090, 208-9090, or go online to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Tell them I sent you to Cool Springs or Midtown location. It's Tennessee Men's Clinic. Why, thank you, Mr. Ken Weaver. 28 minutes after the hour. Daryl writes in on the YouTube chat. By the way, the YouTube chat is like a big party. I mean, you've got the super text line, which is kind of one-on-one communication. You got the better line of communication, which are the phone lines, which I always appreciate. And then you got the big party that goes on the YouTube chat. And Daryl writes in and says, here's my claim to fame, Matt Murphy. Dolly Parton was the first non-relative woman to kiss me.
Wow.
Hey. My father took me to Channel 4, the studios, in 1968. He worked for Bobby Bear at the time. Bobby Bear. Love that. Marie Laveau, the winner. Bobby Bear. Come on. Anyway, he worked for Bobby Bear at the time, and he took me. Daryl says it was a recording of the Porter Wagner show, and Dolly was working on the Porter Wagner show, and she kissed me on the cheek. Wow.
That's something you never forget.
Well, and
wow.
Tita said, I bet you didn't wash that cheek for a week. And Daryl said, I actually washed my face in the water fountain right after. String Bean, y'all remember String Bean back in the Rhino on Tour? Said String Bean was there, and he laughed at me. Little kid, stupid woman. Oh, boy. You don't forget all of that. Tita writes in and says, I did get to meet Grandpa Jones, but I never met String Bean. Oh, I remember Grandpa Jones. Minnie Pearl, Grandpa Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, oh, man. Wesley has some thoughts about the old fanfare. Hey, Wesley.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm great, Wesley.
Hey, first of all, I want to say I love y'all's show.
Well, thank you.
If y'all had told me 15 years ago I'd be listening to talk radio, I would have said you're crazy. But y'all have converted me.
Well, we're glad to hear.
Well, good. Well, this was probably mid to late 80s. It was whatever year that Toby Keith was his freshman year. And I had a 13-year-old niece that I took to the fairgrounds. And they were so approachable. She must have gotten 25, 30 signatures of some serious stars. And I know you can't approach them now. You know, they want to let you. So that was a great venue. The worst thing was it was about 115 degrees inside the fairground building.
Man, I bet it's hot.
It was.
Oh,
but hey,
boy.
Appreciate it, and y'all have a good evening.
Wesley, thank you much for the call. I bet it was hot, and I bet some people weren't really keen on the deodorant. Know what I mean?
Yeah, I've been to Disney World in the summer.
Ugh. Wow. Man, with all that sweating, you'd think you'd lose a little weight. 615-737-9986 if you want to get in on this. It's time for Ken Weaver's Newscast. It's almost been a week since the big Glock Store annual open house, and what a great open house it was. I'm still wallowing in the memories. A lot of people walked through the doors of the Glock Store. A lot of people won raffles at the Glock Store. And if you were not a big winner of any of the raffle prizes, never you fear, you're a big winner just by being in the Glock Store and seeing some of the incredible deals that they had going on all day long. From the various vendors to the ammo deals from Burrow Bullets and many more vendors and the incredible giveaways. It was a fabulous time, a fabulous event. Plus, if you didn't shoot full auto, I think you're doing it wrong. Now, I did not get a chance to do it. I've shot full auto with Mitch and the team in the past, so I let others do it. But that thing was going all day long. They had incredible shooting rooms going on. They had the big room with all of the vendors and, of course, the raffle room right there in the front retail space. It was all happening at the Glock Store. If you missed it, don't worry. There'll be one coming around before you know it. And you can always go to the one and only Glock Store. It's on Airlane Drive, just off of Elm Hill Pike. Go by and see them. See the beautiful showroom. See the incredible deals that they have on Glocks and beyond. And just tell them that I sent you, if you don't mind, to the Glock Store. Find out more at glockstore.com or shoot270.com. Weber's laughing at me. You know what I was doing? Were you laughing at me staring so intently at my phone? Or no?
No, I was laughing because you looked up.
Oh.
Whenever the little jingle played for.
Oh, did I?
The Paul Winkler spot.
Oh. I did not hear that because I was so intently looking at my phone. There was a video that came. You know, these phones are going to kill every single one of us. Some more quickly than others. Some video popped up on my phone, Weber, of a guy carefully replacing a hole in a green on a golf course, like the proper way. You know, how if you've never with the machine and the thing, and then placing the other one back, and then patting that down, and then making it kind of disappear.
Yep.
And I was absolutely fascinated with it. And when I looked up, you smiled, and I thought, oh, it was like I got caught looking at something dirty.
No. Unless you were, and then I caught you.
4574 says Elon found out he couldn't buy Donald Trump. Is that what you think happened? Huh. That's interesting. That's what you thought happened. Well, my favorite line of thought, and I told you my deal on it yesterday, and I won't belabor it. And frankly, I'm not in a humor to get into anything particularly serious at this late hour of the week. We don't have to hate both of these people just because they disagree on something. That's number one. we don't have to dismiss the importance of Elon Musk in America today, yesterday, last week, last month, last year, because we might disagree with him on this point. Number 3, it just so happens that while I disagree with the approach that Elon took yesterday on social media, I happen to agree with his point. And I would like to believe that most conservatives would too. Anyone telling you that this bill saves money is only basing that predicated on the fact that we're overspending at a clip of about $3 trillion a year. So when you say, well, this new bill saves us a $1.5 trillion. Oh, so you mean we're only going to overspend by $1.5 trillion next year? Isn't that nice? So I could get into all of that. I'll save that for another time. I do not agree with this bill as it was passed by the House. I am confident enough and self-assured enough in my support of Donald J. Trump that I don't have to agree with him on everything. I don't have to manipulate my principles to agree with him on every point. Trump is just doing what he believes is best for the country and the best thing that he can get. I don't believe, as I told Tim Burchett earlier in this week, I don't believe that your best is good enough. That's what I told Congressman Tim Burchett. He said the best we could do is to overspend by $1 trillion this year. And at least Tim was being honest with us. And I love Tim as long as the day is. But I said, your best is not good enough if that's your best. So I understand. One guy's focus, Elon's, is on saving money. Another guy's focus is on getting the economy back going again and doing all the other things that involve being president of the United States of America. And yes, turning that ship around slowly but surely and trying to get us back on the right path. But folks, this budget bill is just like every single budget bill in my lifetime. They do a 10-year projection. The way that they sell this crap, go read it. Y'all just go read it. If you're a conservative, go read the bill over the weekend. Come back to me on Monday and tell me that you support it with all of the pork and junk that's in it. But they all do the same thing. The spending happens on the front end and the savings happen on the back end of a 10-year plan. Budgets are not done on a 10-year plan. They're done every year. And so as it has been for my entire life, they say, well, what we're going to do is we're going to spend money on the front end on this program and that program, and we're going to reap the benefits of savings here. And then by year 4, we're going to start cutting into that and this and the other thing. And by year 5, you'll see there's overspending in the first part of it, but by year 5, it levels out. And by year 6 and 7, we're saving hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars. Y'all ain't ever getting to know year 6 or 7 on this because you don't do budgets that way. And next year or the following year, a new Congress will come in and do a new set of circumstances and a new set of principles, and they'll blow up everything that you claimed you were doing. But no, Elon Musk did not try to buy Donald Trump. Donald Trump used Elon Musk, and Elon Musk probably used Donald Trump a little bit. I don't believe that they have to be enemies just because they disagreed on all of this, but probably my favorite theory is that they're in cahoots, and the goal was to get more spending cuts out of the bill, and the way that they do that is for Elon to pitch a fit and be the bad guy. I don't believe that necessarily, but it's interesting. Second, in the conspiracy theory line, or I don't even know that this is a conspiracy theory, is that Elon was off his meds or on the meds. He was on some sort of drugs yesterday. I have a weekly visit in my old stomping ground of Birmingham on Fridays at 11:30 with the Andrew McLean Show. And McLean is a Trump man. I would consider myself a Trump man. And McLean was going after Elon, saying, well, Elon was high on ketamine or something. And I told him, he was like, what, do you think he was on drugs? Do you think he's on drugs? That's why he's doing all this? He's losing. He's a drug addict. And I was like, I don't know if you've watched Elon Musk very much, but I kind of live my life assuming that Elon is always on drugs. And with that in mind, I would suggest to you that, sure, Elon might have been on drugs yesterday. Might have been on drugs the day that he was in the White House with a black eye. Was probably on drugs the day that he was on stage celebrating a victory. Was probably on drugs the times that he gave $240 million of his own money to Republican Party politics to make sure that Donald Trump got reelected. Yeah, it's probably on drugs. Sure. But all that to say, I have not discounted or dismissed Elon Musk. No. He had the courtesy. Is that rain?
Yes, it is.
Ooh. Had the courtesy of waiting until he was out of the administration to say anything critical. There was a dust-up. 2 alpha dogs were in the arena, and they started nipping at one another. We all enjoyed it for a hot minute, and we move on from it. Donald Trump will continue to attempt to get his big, beautiful bill passed, and we'll probably get some version of the big, beautiful bill passed. Who knows? Who knows? In the meantime, this was the story that was almost an incomplete. By the way, you won Nincompoops in the news. Did I mention this?
No. That's 2 in a row.
And I had to, and I actually had to go back and count them up because it was nip and tuck between Machete Boy and your guy. Team Mushroom won.
Nice.
So that's pretty good. But this is the one that I almost went with that I probably should have gone with. In a Facebook post earlier this week, the TSA expressed frustration with travelers who are not providing the proper real ID to fly. And you got to have that real ID now to fly. And it has happened. And that real ID has what on it? Is that a little
gold star.
Little gold star. In a Facebook post earlier this week, the Transportation Security Administration made it known that a Costco membership card is not an acceptable form of identification. Writing on their Facebook post, TSA said, "We love hot dogs and rotisserie chicken as much as the next person. But please stop telling people their Costco card counts as a real ID because it absolutely does not." Starting May 7th, most adults catching a flight in the U.S. are required to present a passport or an upgraded identification card that meets federal Real ID standards. That card on all of these identifications is noted with a gold star. Well, I don't know if you remember Costco?
I am not.
I am, although we've decided we're canceling it after the membership runs out because we're not going anymore because they were jerks. I think it's about the transgender thing or DEI or something along those lines. And we got a BJ's right down the road, and they're pretty good. But if you've been a member of Costco, you'll note that the Costco card has your photograph on the back of it, your name on the back of it, and on the front of it, you know what it's got?
Star?
Big gold star member, it says. And so, sadly, people were thinking, well, it's got my picture, and it's got my name, and it's got a gold star, and they're actually trying to use this as a form of identification. The Department of Homeland Security links to information in each state on scheduling appointments and lists all documentation needed for said same. So, just so you know, for those in the back, Costco membership card is not an acceptable form of identification to get on an aircraft. Lindsay writes in and says, "Matt Murphy, I want your shirt. It's perfect. Have a great weekend." Thank you, Lindsay. I appreciate that. I don't buy clothing online because I got a feel of it. I want a touch of it. I want to make sure it fits. Some things extra large, great. Some things extra large, not so good.
Yeah.
But this one spoke to me. And if you're not watching on Talk TV, then you don't know what we're talking about. And where are you? Come on over to the YouTube side of things, and you'll get to see what my shirt says. All right, in a moment, we'll wrap things up and call it a weekend on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, if you're a business owner, any sort of business, might I talk to you for just a moment? I want to remind you that cybersecurity attacks are rampant nowadays, and Alpha and Omega Computer Consultation, they can help prevent them. for you and your small business. Let's talk about it. Hey, it's Matt Murphy for Michael and Alpha and Omega Computer. So as a business owner, your time is obviously important. And when you have IT issues, you don't need to call somebody around the globe. You don't need to talk to an AI bot. You want to talk to a human being that's right here in Middle Tennessee. Well, you'll do so at Alpha and Omega Computer Consultation. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Emergency services are always available. They have their own data center that offers substantial savings that are then passed on to you, the consumer. They'll take complete ownership in helping you with all of your IT issues, from internet to printers, you name it. If it involves a computer, they can help you with it, and they will service you directly. If it's IT related, they're going to troubleshoot that issue, and they're going to find a solution for you. If you're a business owner, know this. You are at risk of ransomware. And that nobody wants to scare you at Alpha and Omega, but it is a fact that ransomware attacks happen every single day in America, and most of those attacks never get reported because they're on small businesses like yours. Alpha and Omega delivers fewer problems, faster response, and better service, and it actually works. Call for a free quote today at 615-784-0096, 784-0096, or online at a&o.net. That's A stands for Alpha, and O stands for Omega.net. A&O.net. So I was asked the question on the super text line if a VA ID will get you on an airplane. And so I wrote into the Google machine, I don't know which AI this is, but does VA identification count as real ID? Answer, no. A VA ID or a Veterans Health Identification Card is not a real ID. While it is accepted as a form of identification for certain purposes, including TSA checkpoints and access to military facilities, it does not meet the Real ID Act's standards for identification. The VA ID is not a Real ID compliant card. It is a different type of identification with its own set of rules. But then I go down here to, can a VA card be used as a Real ID? It says, DOD IDs, including those used to dependents, are on the official TSA list of acceptable identification and will still be an acceptable form of ID following the implementation of the Real ID, an official said via email.
Well, that's clear.
Does that not sound like two separate, completely different answers?
Yes.
I'm glad to be of service, sir. No. Not even a military ID is a form of acceptable ID. I'm being told by several on the, it's called the Googleator. Is it really called the Googleator?
No.
There's a great joke that the punchline is a gladiator. I will not be telling that joke today on the radio because it would be my last day on the radio.
Put that together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, let's see. Eric says Department of Defense. Now, we'll see. DOD ID. Well, maybe this got confused. So the general answer is no. A VA ID, a health identification card for the VA, is not an acceptable form of ID. And I don't. Why is Brian yelling? I don't know why Brian's yelling.
All caps.
Yeah. No, it's not. I've been in the military for 25 years, Brian says. Thank you, Brian. Calm down. It's the weekend. And then 7522 says, Elon doesn't give a rat's ass about the spending in that bill. He got pissed because he didn't get the EB tax and seniors, and Trump didn't put his man in NASA. I don't know what that sentence means. His man in NASA getting canceled, his win, he flipped his lid. You are not, I assume, it says you are uninformed. Ill-informed, not informed on the subject. Elon does not give a rat's ass about the spending in the bill, he repeats. I disagree, 7522. I do think that Elon does care about the spending. I can disagree with you without you telling me that I'm not informed. You're welcome to call me at any point, not today because we're out of time. But at any point during the week, I'm here for 4 hours a day. I open up the phone lines for 4 hours a day for differing opinions. All I ask is that you be concise, succinct, and that we have a conversation. Only one person gets to monologue on my show, and that's me. And so I just ask for back and forth, and I try to be good about it. Sometimes I get snippy and short. I know I do, but I try to be good about it. The bottom line is this. The bill sucks. Spending will kill this country, and I believe Elon knows that. I don't understand why he would have spent his time, his money, his fortune on Doge and other aspects of what he has been doing for the last 6, 8, 10 months. And you choose to not recognize that. To which 7522 has responded. I know the bill sucks. I don't hate Eli. I'm just reading what I hear. I mean, I'm sure it's voice to text or something. I think he's a good guy. He just made a mistake burning bridges like he did. No, he hasn't burned any bridges. But I think you're uninformed on the Elon subject. I've listened to you have insiders that have White House contacts and know the situation. Oh, so you have special information. And it's not the spending in the bill that caused Elon to flip his lead. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you're uninformed on the bill. You're uninformed about the behind the scenes on Trump and Elon. Well, if you think you have better connections to the White House than I do, then 7522, you can be my connection to the White House, and you should start calling in and letting us know what you know. I feel like I've got pretty good connections to the White House. I mean, I don't have insider connections anymore. I used to, but I don't anymore. But, I'm always willing to learn. Always willing to learn. I also know that DJT's not right about anything or everything, too. Y'all have a great weekend. For Chris Webber, for Ken Weaver, for the rest of the crew, thank you for putting up with us for the full week. We appreciate you. We'll be back on Monday. Until then, have a wonderful weekend. Mark Levin up next. Hug your loved ones.